Activism.
Oh yeah, that's I have been, I'll tell you what it is that I was always involved in one action or the other, even great.
Let me ask you this. What encouraged you to move to Southwest Atlanta when you moved to the city? What encouraged you to move to Southwest Atlanta when you moved to the city? When you moved to Atlanta, what encouraged you to move to Southwest Atlanta? How's your relationship to Southwest Atlanta been useful in your activism? Okay.
Other things than the one that you're doing.
Let me ask you this. What advice can you give to young activists? I certainly understand. That's actually a very great answer. And the last thing I want to ask you is, what do you think your lasting legacy will be? Thank you, sir. That wraps up my questions. It's a pleasure to talk. My name is Maurice Hobson.
Maurice?
Yes. I'm a professor of history at Georgia State.
Is that right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I'm a civil rights historian.
What's your last name?
Hobson. Yes, sir. I'm from Selma, Alabama.
Selma?
Reverend Dr. F.B. Reese was my parents. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Well, this is worlds better. All right. And in fact, we could just turn his chair just a little bit. If I may turn you, sir, just a little bit this way. Is that right? Right there? Perfect. Have a seat. Just make yourself comfortable. Yes, sir.
You need me to say my name, or I don't have to.
You're great.
You know what? And I'm going to do what he's not going to do.
Okay. So if you want to get it for him.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. I am rolling. We are good to go.
I love it.
You good?
I'm good.
Take it away.
All right. I'm historian Maurice Hobson. I'm here interviewing the Reverend Dr. C.T. Vivian. Dr. Vivian, what pushed you into a life of activism?
Is it the fact that there was a need, started with so long ago, it's almost forgettable, right? But so that before the movement was moving, I was a part of an action. In fact, way back in Illinois. And this is the thing that's hard for many people to see, because they think of, they only think of the South. And And the beginning of the nonviolent movement started in the North, not in the South. But without the South, we wouldn't have had the kind of abundance of people and action.
I certainly understand. When you moved to Atlanta, what encouraged you to move to Southwest Atlanta?
I really don't know. I know that it's the best city in this arena.
Okay.
Is that one might pick another city, but I don't know what it would be.
Well, in terms of your relationship with Atlanta and the civil rights work that you've been able to do, how has Southwest Atlanta and her people contributed to that? How have they provided a context for you to do more work?
Well, it's because they were active, and action begets action. This is why we go to the various cities we go to, and because you have to know the people you need to know. We are an active group of thinkers and people.
Well, activism is still alive and well today. Is there any advice that you can give to young activists?
Oh, immediately start looking for those people who are active, and don't give it up, keep it up.
Okay. The last thing, what do you want to be your lasting legacy? We hope we don't want you to go anywhere, but what would you want to be your lasting legacy?
I have no idea. Is that I'm more concerned about what actions will we have as a result of where we go and what we do and what is next.
That's good. Well, thank you, sir, for your time. I certainly appreciate it.
I hope it's
All right.
it's you.
Dr. Vivian, I want to piggyback on a couple of questions. Tell us about a little bit about upward bound and nonviolence.
But I would like for him to ask that question again. Remember your lasting legacy, upward bound. Did you say that's what you wanted to say would be your lasting legacy? He started upward bound. Okay, I'm sorry.
If asked.
Hey, yes. So Dr. Vivian, can you tell us about the legacy that you want to leave with Upward Bound? Why Upward Bound is so important?
Upward Bound is important because we gave so many people a chance to be active, and as a result of that, it didn't stop with any one of us, right? But the action itself continued because the people in that city or in that situation wanted to be a part of doing something. We didn't always start the action, but we did move with it and took it with us, and it with us.
I think that's it.
No, I got one more. Dr. Vivian, if we talk about nonviolence and if you look at when you were hit by Sheriff Clark, how would you tell the youth of today how to react?
And if you could tell that to this gentleman right here.
Yeah, tell it this way.
One simply does not react to places and people that they don't choose to. And you go that or choose that kind of action before you go to a place.
All right, and Dr. Vivian, my last question would be this. Tell me about how it felt when President Obama put the presidential Medal of Freedom around your neck.
Talk to him.
I don't get excited about many things, but that one I really am thankful for.
Yes, sir.
It's because it's the high point of a good number of our activities and our concerns. When you you have the President of the United States.
That's right.
When you have that by a black man, it's almost impossible to believe until it happens, and it did happen.
Yes, sir.
And we're most thankful, and then thankful because it happened here.
Yes, sir. Southwest Atlanta too strong.
That's it.
Thank you.
Thank you. We good. We good. Thanks, Doc.
It's good to be alive.
Yes, sir. I'm glad you're well too.
Yeah, I'm doing okay, brother.
Then you can tell us about your most memorable moment with Dr. King.
Well, that's a question on here too. You see, that's number 2.
At least we think about
Listen, you come at it 6 million different ways, brother.
Hey.
That's the beautiful thing about when you do history and you do interviews. You learn you gather how to profile. You can profile and build profiles. It's a beautiful thing. You get stories that you never thought you would get and make connections. And,
I'm ready for it.
all right. So, Congressman Lewis, what drew you into a life of activism?
I grew up in rural Alabama, 50 miles from Montgomery. And growing up there, I saw the signs that said white men, colored men, white women, colored women, white waiting, colored waiting. And I've asked my mother, my father, my grandparents, my great-grandparents, why? Why this? Why that? My mother would say, boy, you're too nosy. You want to know everything. But one day in 1955, I was 15 years old. I heard the Rosa Parks. I heard the words of Martin Luther King Jr. on the radio. The action of Rosa Parks, the words and leadership of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. inspired me. So in 1956, a few of my brothers and sisters and cousins, we went down to the public library, a little town of Troy, Alabama.
Wow.
Trying to get library cards, trying to check out some books. And we were told by the librarian that the libraries were whites only and not for colored. I never went back to that library until July 5th, 1998, for a book signing of my first book, Walking with the Wind. And hundreds of blacks and white citizens showed up. At the end of the book signing, they gave me a library card.
Well, tell me something. What's your most memorable moment with Dr. King?
Well, in 1957, when I was 17, I wrote Dr. King a letter. He wrote me back. I had applied to go to Troy State College, not only Troy University. And I told him I needed his help. And he suggested that I should come to Montgomery to meet with him. And in the meantime, I've been accepted at a little college in Nashville, Tennessee. I boarded a Greyhound bus. I traveled from Troy to Montgomery. And after being from Troy to Nashville on a Greyhound bus. And I told one of my teachers that I've been in contact with Dr. King. This teacher was a man by the name of Kelly Miller Smith, one of the great religious leaders. He had graduated from Morehouse. He was a friend of Dr. King. He informed Dr. King that I was in Nashville. So Dr. King got back in church and suggested when I was home for spring break to come and see him. So in March 1958, I'm 18 now, I boarded the bus. I traveled from Troy to Montgomery. And a young lawyer by the name of Fred Gray, who was the lawyer for Rosa Parks, became our lawyer during the Freedom Ride and during the march from Selma to Montgomery, met me at the Greyhound bus station and drove me to the First Baptist Church, pastored by the Reverend Ralph Abernathy, and ushered me into the church. And I saw Dr. King standing behind the desk along with Reverend Ralph Abernathy. And Dr. King said, "Are you the boy from Troy? Are you John Lewis?" And I said, "Dr. King, I am John Robert Lewis." But each time he would see me, he would call me the boy from Troy. After we were beaten and left bloody on the Freedom Ride in Montgomery, came there. He was on a trip to Chicago. He returned to Montgomery to be with us. And I remember staying in a home in downtown Montgomery, owned by a Tuskegee Airman, beautiful old home, where he took in 20 of the Freedom Riders. Dr. King stayed there, and Reverend Abernathy. We had been at this church. And members of the Klan tried to burn the church with all of us in it. President Kennedy federalized the Alabama National Guard. So we stayed there with Dr. King and Reverend Abernathy and his family. People in the community brought us food. And that was a wonderful time, being in his presence, sitting down on the floor, planning how we were going to go from Montgomery to Jackson, Mississippi, and other parts of the South on the Freedom Ride.
That's amazing.
And to be able to march with him all the way from Selma to Montgomery, he was wonderful. He was unbelievable. I remember when we were marching up Highway 80, I had a bandage on my head, and he had a cap on. He took the cap off his head and put it on my head, and he said, "John, you've been hurt. You need to wear this cap to protect your head." I thought it was so wonderful.
Well, let me ask you, once moving to Atlanta, what drew you into Southwest Atlanta, to that community?
Well, I moved to Atlanta in 1963. I was 23 years old, had all of my hair and a few pounds lighter, to become the chair of the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee. And that was 63. In 1968, when I got married, we bought a little house on Pinehurst Drive, and it's the Venetian Hill section of the city. And it was very convenient. I love the area. It was easy to get to Greenbrier, grocery stores, and my wife worked at Atlanta University, and the only thing I had to do was to get downtown. And it was easy to get around, and I got to know the city very well, and I fell in love with the city.
Just reference the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee founded with Elevator at Shaw. What advice would you give to young activists today?
I would say to young activists, study the civil rights movement, study the life and history of Atlanta, the South, and the nation. Study the teaching of Martin Luther King Jr. Study the life of Ella Baker, this unbelievable sister who had attended Shaw University. She was just brave, smart. She was a little older than students in college, but she was young at heart. And some people would say maybe she had a little militant edge on her. She would tell us, stand up, speak out. And if you see something that is not right or fair or just, say something, do something. And even from the days when she had organized the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee, SNCC, she said, be your own. I think on one hand, Dr. King thought we should become the arm of SCLC, But Ella Baker felt strongly that we should have our own independent organization. And if it hadn't been for Ella Baker, many of the young people that emerged as leaders, even someone like a Marion Barry, became the mayor of Washington, D.C., who was the first chair of the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee, and others, Julian Bond and Lonnie King, and so many other people, all across America today, all their leadership skills and ability to what Ella Baker had the raw courage to dwell into each one of us.
I'm very familiar with your election in 1986. So you've been an activist on several levels. I mean, you activism, governing, and I'm very familiar with the story of how you beat the pavement. You got out in the street. You knocked on doors. Can you tell me how Southwest Atlanta has helped contribute to your activism? The context of Southwest Atlanta has helped to contribute to your activism.
Well, if it hadn't been for Southwest Atlanta, I probably wouldn't be the person that I am today. I learned by meeting people in Southwest Atlanta, visiting the schools, getting to know ministers, religious leaders, business leaders, the different restaurants and little places. You know, Southwest Atlanta has clubs. I love music, and when I was very young, I tried to dance some, and I still dance when I hear good music, because there's something about music. It was in the movement, it's in our churches, and it brings people together to create a sense of family, create a great sense of solidarity. And I remember very well during the early 60s, the late 50s, when we would get arrested and go to jail, whether it was in Selma, in Jackson, Mississippi, or Nashville, Tennessee. Sometimes we would get out of jail and maybe only had a quarter or two. We'd go to a little jukebox and listen to the music. And the music lifted us, brought us together as one. And it gave us a sense of hope, a sense of optimism. I can never, ever forget that.
Last question I'm going to ask. When the President of the United States bestowed the Presidential Medal of Freedom and donned it on your neck, how did that make you feel?
When President Barack Obama presented me with the Medal of Freedom, I teared up, and I tried to hold back and not cry. I admire President Obama, and I still admire him today, because he's one of these unbelievable human beings. When you were first elected and attended the swearing in, then we had a little breakfast. I was invited to be part of the leadership. When the breakfast was the luncheon. And I had a little piece of paper, and I said, Mr. President, will you sign this? And he wrote on it, it's because of you, John. And he gave me a hug. He teared up, and I teared up again. And then when I saw him the second time, at the same meal, similar meal, he said, it's still because of you, John. I said, well, thank you, Mr. President. He's an unbelievable human being. I wish he was still president today.
All right. And there you have it, folks. We're having a conversation with Congressman John Lewis, freedom fighter, Presidential Medal of Honor recipient, discussing his role in working in Atlanta and Southwest Atlanta Too Strong. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Congressman Lewis, we have one other question. I can talk 2 minutes. I want to ask one. If we look at what happened yesterday and the confirmation of your Supreme Court Justice, and looking at what you've been through, what you've seen, are we going backwards, or what would you say?
We cannot go back. We cannot go back. There may be some interruption, some disappointment, a setback, but we're not going back, we're going forward. We can only go forward. That's why we got to continue to stand up and speak out and get out and vote like we never voted before.
And why should we vote for Stacey Abrams? Tell us, what did that mean to you?
Stacey
Yes.
Abrams
Yes.
is qualified. She's a fighter, a warrior. She was born in Mississippi, moved to Georgia, and she would be a great governor. That's why I'm supporting her. Everything I have.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, but we didn't use any government money.
Sure did.
And
I had a epiphany when we talked. I said, man, this
but it's the only city. I went to talk to Bloomberg, and I was trying to talk to him about enterprise zones and tax-exempt municipal bonds. He wasn't interested. But that's the reason they can't build an airport in Washington. They've been trying to build an airport for 50 years. And we've built 25 airports. And paid for.
Bloomberg just made a major investment in Atlanta through the arts community.
You know, he does well with his own money, but we didn't have any money. And we had to attract money. And we attracted more money per capita than New York did.
Well, are you up for us having a discussion? Remember,
anytime.
The Black Lives Matter piece too, we can do that.
Yeah, anything you want to do. I'm okay, you know, I was really, well, as I said, I chased Martin Luther King's dream for 50 years after his death. And what has happened is the world has moved beyond the simple, well, it didn't. See, his dream was to redeem the soul of America from the triple evil of racism, war, and poverty. And it was when he started talking about poverty that he got killed. See? And that's where we are now. But the kids still think everything is racial.
Yeah.
Have you read this book, White Trash?
I have.
It says, and with what I know and what they say, black folk were better off coming to America because they had lived on land, they knew how to farm, they brought certain skills with them, construction skills, see, and so the slaves were better prepared than the people who were coming from England, who had just been picked up off the streets because they couldn't read, they couldn't work, and they were called by the British white trash.
Right.
See? Now we heard about the Pilgrims, and they were an elite group of educated religious people, but that was 1% of the white folk that came here. The majority of the white folk that came here were in bad shape.
That's right.
And if the Indians and the slaves had not helped them, they probably would not have made it.
I got you.
And so, why that's important to me is I grew up in a white neighborhood predominantly. It was mixed, see? But I think my parents were the only people in the block, 2 or 3 blocks, that had been to college. Okay. And so they never let me feel like I was a victim.
Right.
And I'm supposed to help people.
That's right.
Including those people.
That's a good segue into this first question here,
Yeah.
so we can officially start. So what drew you into a life of activism and governance and all the work that you've done?
I was born in the middle of the block. On one corner was an Irish grocery store. On the next corner was the German-American Bund, which was the headquarters of the Nazi Party. And there was an Italian bar across the street. See?
Yeah.
So to get anywhere, I had to deal with a potential racial crisis. And my daddy took me in at 4 years old and took me to see Jesse Owens in the 1936 Olympics. And said, look, now Hitler says that white is right, that white is supreme, and when Jesse wins, he's going to prove that that's not altogether true. And so when Jesse won the first race, Hitler and his stormtroopers, instead of giving him the medal, stormed out and left. And he said, I'm 4 years old, just kindergarten. You see, if Jesse had gotten upset, he might not have won the next 3 medals. So he broke 3 more world records by being calm. And he said, you're small. My daddy was 5'4". He said, you might make 5'8". He said, so you're never going to be able to beat up everybody. And you can run, you might outrun anybody, people, but you're not going to feel good about running from a fight. The best thing you got is your mind. And you cannot use your mind if you get upset. When you get angry, the blood rushes from your head to your feet or your fists. And then you do something stupid. See? Because your feet and your fists are not your strength. Your mind is your strength. So don't ever get mad. Don't get mad, get smart. And then that was Joe Louis' time, see?
I understand.
So he used to box. And he'd tap me on the face. And if I was moving in the wrong direction or lost my temper and swung at him, he'd knock the hell out of me. He said, see, you lose your temper and you lose your head. Even for a minute, you cannot lose your temper. See? Now, that was the perfect lesson for going in to meet with businessmen in Birmingham, Alabama. It was an even better meeting, a lesson for going in to meet with Afrikaners in South Africa.
That's right.
And so, in a sense, I was born into the movement.
Right.
Now, at the same time, my daddy was telling me to be cool. My grandmama was saying, if somebody calls you a nigger, or your little brother, or picks on your little brother, and you don't beat them, and you don't fight them, I'm gonna whip you when you get home. So I'm caught. You got to fight, but you also got to think.
That's next. So you understood the context of nonviolence before you moved to Atlanta and met Dr. King. I mean, clearly you did.
Well, I didn't think of it as nonviolence.
Right.
See, and I didn't really commit to nonviolence until I married. And ironically,
You couldn't beat him.
Coretta and Jean grew up in the same little town at Marion, Alabama. And they both had a real hard time. Coretta at 15 had her house burned down. And her daddy, when they came home, made them kneel and pray. And thank God, first, that they were not in the house. And that they were all safe and alive. Then he asked them to forgive the sick people that burned down the house. And then he prayed that no matter what happened all their lives, they would not harbor any hatred or bitterness in their heart toward any man, woman, or child. Now, when I read what she said, her daddy said, which must have been about 1945, right after the Second World War, it's almost exactly what the preacher had Mother Emanuel said in Charleston. And so nonviolence was in the heart of the black community, not for logical or religious reasons, but for survival reasons.
That's right. That's
So
right.
if nothing, and I hate to point it out, but you need to, what happened to all of the bad ass niggas that wanted to kill everybody? They dead. See, who's alive?
Hosea.
John Lewis. No, Jose didn't die. Jose talked bad, but Jose really had more respect and worked better with white people than I did. He just didn't like to admit it. But Jose was a wheeler dealer down there in the Georgia legislature. And but it was just that. And Bevel, James Bevel, was as radical as anybody. See, James Bevel never lost his temper. James Bevel could go into a room full of Klansmen and stay cool. He never went to jail unless he wanted to go to jail. See, other folk would come down here from the north and they would show fear. See, Bevel wouldn't show any fear. When I went to a town, I don't care where it was, the first thing I did was I went to the first grocery store or filling station that I came to. And I went in, told them where I was from, told them what I was doing, laid it all on the table. I didn't tell them I just said we're here to teach people to read and write in order that they might one day be able to register to vote. But you don't make people who are guilty and sick afraid. You have to put them at ease. Now, jump into 1977 when Jimmy Carter sent me to South Africa. Well, I'd been there in 74. I'd been there a couple of times, 74, 76. I came back in 77 as ambassador to the United Nations, and the State Department people set up all these meetings with nothing but black people. And I said, look, these are my friends. I've been meeting with them every time I come here. Anytime they come to the United States, they come to see me. I need to meet with the folk that are causing the trouble. Well, what do you want to meet with them for? Because we got to change. And they said, well, who do you want to meet with? I said, who's the meanest son of a bitch you got here? And they said, well, that would be P.W. Botha. I said, what's his job? He's the Minister of Defense, and he is one horrible man. I said, call him and ask him, can I see him? You gonna see him? Yeah, I'm gonna see him. He might not want to see me, but tell him I will meet him anywhere, under any circumstances, and I'll come by myself. I don't need any guards, And so he let me come. And he revealed in a half hour what the problems were. The first thing he said was, you were in Congress. I said, yes, sir. Why did white people vote for you? And I said, well, the district was about 38% black. I said, but one day it might be majority black. I said, that's an interesting district because they voted for me when it was majority black, white. And then the next time there was an election, they voted for a white man when it was majority black. And I said, so they were voting what they felt the people who best related to them. I said, and it wasn't that there were bad black people. I said, but the white man had visited more churches. He had been more active in the community. And so he got to vote. And I said, they realize, I think, that race is not the only determinant of what we do together. He said, how much in a marriage you have? I said, really? I said, I have a few friends that are mixed racial couples, but I said, really, not many. See? And all he said was, And then he said, how long do you think we have before the bloodbath? And I said, what bloodbath? He said, surely soon these people are going to rise up and kill us all. And I said, not necessarily. He said, how can you say that? I said, well, I can say that Gandhi formed the Indian National Congress the same time Albert Lutuli formed the African National Congress. He went back to India, he set India free, and I don't think they killed a single Englishman. See? And I said, the reason President Carter asked me to come to see you was because he lives in Georgia, in a neighborhood that's 80% black. And he's learned to live and work with people from childhood. See? And I said, he sent me with a message that this is what he'd like to help you do. Learn to live together as brothers and sisters so you won't perish together as fools.
And that was his international politics of respectability, to be respectful.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, let me move forward. You have served as congressman from this area. You've served as UN ambassador for the United States. You served as mayor of Atlanta. And I would even argue that you were the one who internationalized the city. You were the one who really brought the world.
Argument. Ain't no argument.
No argument there.
The first time I said, why do you want to be mayor? I said, because there's no money in Washington, and we got to bring in money from all over the world. We got to become an international city. And one of the bankers I was talking to said to my friend, where in the hell did you get that crazy stuff?
Well, how did Southwest Atlanta, you be living in you know, setting up shop in Atlanta, in Southwest Atlanta, how did that play into your political brilliance? Because you
franchised brilliance. This is a community that, I mean, this is a community of W.B. Du Bois, community of Lester Granger, who formed the Urban League. Dr. Baycoat was the one who taught me how to win an election. See, how to count votes precinct by precinct, where to find my vote and where to waste my time and not waste my time. See, in the 40s, in Southwest Atlanta, you had more black PhDs than anywhere else in the world.
That's right.
See, and it's supposed to be, and we also had a lady by the name of Grace Hamilton of the Urban League took Ivan Allen by the hand. And Ivan Allen had run for governor as a segregationist, it was lifelong segregation. On his father's dying bed, his father told him, Ivan, we've done a good job with this city. The one thing we haven't touched, we're going to have to leave to your generation, and that's race.
Right.
So he had been given this commandment by his father on his dying bed, and he mentioned that to Grace Hamilton, who was head of the Urban League. She brought him out to Atlanta University.
Wow.
See? And she started introducing him to people and helping him to show up.
Okay. And
be comfortable with black folk. And he went from there as a segregationist, which must have been around 1957, 58, just before I got here, to 64. He was the only mayor in America to testify in Washington on behalf of the Civil Rights Act. Now, it wasn't all smooth, but when I came back right after Dr. King's death, there was a garbage strike on. And he was trying to settle it. And they voted down his settlement. And I happened to have gone to jail with the garbage workers. And so I was sitting in there for the settlement. And when they voted it down, the union people left. And I said, wait a minute. I said, I think what we voted down was what we wanted. See, Ivan Allen, they were asking for 3-step raise. Ivan Allen gave them 2 steps. And they said no. But he also was going to drop all the charges. He was also going to pay them for the time they were on strike. See? And when we put that, I mean, I got up to the blackboard and put it down. He was offering us more than we were asking for. And so it reversed the decision and ended the strike. And so he sent for me and wanted to know, how did I do it? I said, I just read.
Well, last question. When the President of the United States bestowed the Presidential Medal of Freedom to you, how did that make you feel?
You know, I'm not much on medals. I mean, I got more medals and honorary degrees and stuff. And I like it because when I was growing up, I never got honored for anything. And my mom and daddy would come to things and everybody else would be the honor student and the magna cum laude. And I'd never, my mother would be cutting out of, what is the matter with you? Everybody is making something of themselves. What are you doing? And I was always feeling guilty because I couldn't make my parents proud. See?
Right.
But other than that,
Ambassador, knowing that you were the mayor of Atlanta, and we're looking at the Gulch project, or however you want to pronounce it, and we're looking at gentrification, they're going to do that project anyway.
no, hold up. There's going
How we gonna do
it? There's going to be gentrification anyway. My neighborhood is getting gentrified because it's the best price in Atlanta. I paid $32,000 for my house.
What? I've been in your house.
I know. And it's got 2 acres of land. I'm 15 minutes from the airport and 20 minutes from downtown. I'm 10 minutes from the AU Center. And if I go the back way, I can make it to Buckhead in half an hour. Now, why would I want location? Also,
that's right.
all of the school teachers live there. All of the police live there. See? All of the black, I mean, every church, the 10 of the best black churches in the world in that neighborhood. The kids, when I was mayor and we worked on getting kids' applications to school, we had 15 students from Douglas and Mays to go to MIT on full scholarship. See, no, we had 7 to go to MIT. We had 15 to go to Notre Dame. So on full scholarship, we increased the student scholarship fund into that community from about $2 million a year to almost $30 million a year.
Now, there is conversation going on right now. I'm sorry to cut you off, but there's a conversation going on with the General Assembly talking about taking over the Hartsville Airport.
Shit.
Come on, you've heard it.
Like, don't edit that out. That's bullshit. They don't know how to run it.
And if Kemp win, they're gonna take it. They're gonna take it.
No, they can't.
If they, that's why we is that not why we need Stacey?
No. You all are mad at Kasim, see, because he's arrogant, but the brother is smart, and there's more debt on that airport than the state can handle. He got about $19 billion on Wall Street. Isn't going to look at the color; they're going to look at who's backing that money. The state can't back that money. The state's got a $3-4 billion budget. So they got to ask Washington for money. So we didn't ask Washington for any money. We went to Wall Street and we got the money to build that airport.
That's true.
And that airport is worth more
He's ready to go.
than the state can come up with. And Kasim deliberately did that.
Go ahead.
So that's why they're picking on him. And you all are mad with him because he cussed Caesar out. And I didn't want him to do that. But
love you, Ambassador.
No, all I'm saying is that every mayor we've had from Maynard Jackson to me had to be indicted, investigated.
That's right.
See?
That's right.
And it's not about right or wrong, it's about black.
Yeah.
Simple. That's simple.
It's that simple. They don't know what they have here in the Black Leadership Coalition. And we don't get along. We talk about each other. But by and large, everybody is committed to moving this city forward, black and white together. Now, one more thing about the Gulch. Why and where in the world do you find poor people dumb enough to turn down $4 billion? It will not happen here. And that's what they're doing. What good is the Gulch? It's a hazard. They just had to spend millions of dollars to put a bridge over Cortlandt Street.
Yeah.
All of that Gulch is going to have to be developed. See, either with taxpayer money or with private money. Now, what's the guy's name? Tony Rensler.
Okay.
Has got a plan to bring private money in from all over the world to create jobs from the Gulch. Now, they told me there was no black folk weren't going to get any jobs in Colony Square. Go to Colony Square. Go any day, any time of day. Colony Square is filled with black folk.
All right.
I thought Atlantic Station that was the gentrification to drive the white folk, bring the white folk back in.
Didn't work.
I went to Atlantic Station one Saturday morning, and I stayed there, and I didn't see anybody white show up until 12 o'clock.
Okay. Let them take that off, and I got one question to ask you.
Oh, gosh. That's sir.
Upstairs, okay. We'll take it upstairs. We got to get them upstairs.
All I got to do, let's say.
Okay. Sorry about that.
Is help people understand how we got over.
Yes, sir. So I usually go
And
through
that,
paper.
you use that as a title of the interview.
Well,
I've been around that large. What do you expect me to do?
I've been
around the back.
People.
What do you expect me to do?
You got somebody's gonna have to write your biography, man. You got to know the story.
Yeah.
But I have this. I always try to go through Patriot to get to you because I just don't want to.
Well, but she doesn't know who you are. You have to tell her.
Well, she knows. I mean, I happen to know. But I'll call you tomorrow to see when we can set up some things because we have some things going. But it's good to see.
All right.
Yeah. You all, yes.
I'm Ricky Clumps. Yasmina.
Been here around long?
3 years.
Oh, golly, okay.
Yeah, but I've never interviewed you before.
Okay.
Looking forward to it. Mr. Donna, come over here for me.
Hi.
Hey.
Ambassador, after they unhook you with this, I'm going to ask you one question.
Okay.
All right. Yeah, I'm already recording.
Do you want me to stand?
You can drop this in here.
Oh, that's okay. Thank you, though. Okay, name and title, please.
Andrew Young, and I'm just another citizen of Atlanta. Paying taxes and working it down.
What about this event today? What do you think?
Well, I think that Joe Lowery is, I think, 96 today.
97.
97? Good golly, he's sneaking out past me.
Yes, they don't know.
But you have to celebrate somebody who has been on the case all of his life. I mean, as far back as the 50s, when he was in Mobile, I knew of him registering voters, urging people to get involved, taking care of the needs of the least of these God's children, whatever color they may be. He was one of the best preachers I've ever heard. And he always had a very, very profound and meaningful message. He should have been the first black bishop of the Methodist Church. But the Methodist Church back then wasn't quite ready to hear all of the truth. They had to have it in doses. And Joe has never compromised the truth.
He said he wanted a voter registration event for his birthday and a live band. I mean, how important is it for people to vote, first of all, but then also, what about him just saying, this is what I want for my birthday?
Well, it's what he's given his life for. And when he first said that, it could get you killed. I think he was sued in the state of Alabama, and they took all of his property and his car, everything he had, because he was giving this message that he wanted people to vote. And he was sued as part of the New York Times suit. And along with Martin Luther King and Ralph Abernathy and Solomon Say and others. And so this is not, it seems like a simple thing now, but it's something that if he had said that in Mobile or Montgomery or North Alabama when he was pastoring, he could have gotten killed.
There are a lot of young people here, a lot of young students. How important is it for them to be a part of this?
Well, I tell you, the way I put it to students is, one of the reasons that they end up in debt is they didn't vote enough. See, I mean, you can't go to school. I didn't have to go to school. I had no debt when I came out of school because my parents, the administration of the New Deal of Franklin Roosevelt, understood that one of the most important things that society could do is invest in education. So I got a free education, and I've been able to pay taxes and make a contribution for the last 60, well, I'm 86, so for the last 60 years anyway. And that means the state made a good investment. Because if you add up all of the taxes and all of the contribution I made, I think I've been an asset to the state, to the city. But if I'd been uneducated in jail, I guarantee you I'd have figured out a way to get out of jail. Or when I got out of jail, I'd figure out a way to do something destructive to the society. And so, the gubernatorial candidate now is the best illustration of what we're talking about. Stacey Abrams went to Yale Law School. Her brother, whom she says is smarter, but who has a medical problem that they didn't give him health care for, is in jail. It's costing more to keep her brother in jail, who she says is smarter than her, than it was for her to go to Yale and be a leader and pay taxes. We are not doing things for racial reasons or liberal or conservative. It's really, are we being intelligent or are we being stupid about the future? Do we invest in it, or do we try to stay down in the gutter and keep everybody else there with us?
What do you think of the current political situation?
It's a disaster. It's an embarrassment. And I say that while I respect it, but it's still an embarrassment that I didn't grow up like that. Atlanta has not been like that. Atlanta votes for people on the basis of their ability, on the basis of, you know, well, I hate to think of, well, you just look at the difference between Atlanta, where the business community decided to put up their money to have a city too busy to hate, and what's going on now in Washington, where people, I mean, senators are afraid of each other. They don't relate to each other. When I was in Congress, I think my best friends were conservative Republicans. We played basketball together in the gym. We went to prayer services together, Bible study on Wednesday morning. We were part of everything, every vote. And even when we didn't agree, we could get together and find some way, like, I remember I was trying to, all the northern liberals wanted to kill the peanut subsidy. So I went to some of my liberal friends and I said, I'm a Republican. And I said, look, I said, my members down in South Georgia in my church, they live by the peanut subsidy. I said, look, you cut the peanut subsidy, they're going to have to pack up and leave Georgia and come to New York and New Jersey. I said, it's cheaper to keep the peanut subsidy and let them stay on their land. And I got the votes. But you have to put it in terms where everybody understands their self-interest. Right now, nobody's self-interest is being protected or preserved with President Trump. And the operative issue here is the control of the Supreme Court. And by a swing vote that said the president should never be subpoenaed or indicted or impeached. There are many other conservatives that were just as conservative, but that's the man he had. And he intimidated not just He didn't intimidate Democrats, he intimidated Republicans. And it didn't, I mean, he's a bully. And I hate that. Because I've met him and I wanted to like him. But I guess I've gotten along with bullies before. And the thing is that bullies are only looking out for themselves. So they're not looking out for their neighbors. They have no friends. And it's a tragic day for our country when we let our Senate, male and female, get bullied into doing something that they probably wouldn't ordinarily do.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, sir.
We appreciate it.
I hated to say that. I'm sorry that slipped out.
You told the truth. Let's keep going.
Thank you. Have fun at the birthday party.
I will. I'm already voting.
All right.
Hey, thanks for your time. We'll see you.
Okay.
Bye.
All right. Let me get this in here right quick.
Yeah, no, you stay.
Okay. Well, I'm gonna wait. Ambassador,
Hey,
while we're right here at the midterm, why should we vote for Stacey Abrams?
you should vote for the smartest, the most dedicated, and the person that is going to do the most good for you and your family. And I don't think there's any comparison between her and anybody else.
Can you help me to understand this one? I guess in almost any other elected office, when you run for another office, you had to give up your seat. But that's not the case with Kemp?
Well, that's not the case in the state of Georgia. And that's one of the little things we do to keep the politics in the hands of a few people. It's not necessarily good for the state. But that's the way it is. But that's not the most important issue. The most important issue is, I mean, I served this city well, but I didn't get a pension from the city. So I'm still having to try to make it.
Wait a minute, you didn't get a pension?
I was only mayor 8 years. You have to be mayor, you have to be in government 14 years to qualify for a pension. But there are a lot of elderly people like me that don't have pensions. So pensions are a luxury. See? And so what happens to people that are not fortunate enough to have pensions in their old age? Either you take care of us through the Affordable Care Act or Medicare, or we get sick and spread disease all over everybody. Disease is no respecter of color, race, creed, or class. See? And if you end up with an epidemic, I mean, we have a very good healthcare system, but when you keep 30–40% of the people out of it, you're making the 70% more vulnerable. I mean, the mosquitoes around here, and they're talking about cases already of West Nile virus. The sooner you catch those, the less they'll spread. And the mosquitoes don't give a damn what color you are, or how poor you are, or how rich you are. Now, I can afford, I have tried to spray my yard, see? And so I might be able to get by. But everywhere there's a puddle. And especially you look up in North Carolina and South Carolina where they just had these floods, there are mosquito breeding ponds all over. And yet in South Carolina they killed the Affordable Care Act. I mean, it does not make sense. I'm not talking race. I'm talking just
reality.
Just common sense.
What did you expect for us to get out of your newly elected Supreme Court Justice? What's going to happen with the justice?
Well, the amazing thing about the Supreme Court is that they vote in secret. And we thought, well, the Hugo Black was a former Ku Klux Klansman who was on the Supreme Court, and I think was one of the people who voted to end discrimination in the 1954 decision. But everybody I know on the Supreme Court has grown or changed. I even haven't given up on Clarence Thomas.
No?
I mean, you can't give up on somebody that's a lifetime appointment.
Okay. I guess in closing, and wrap this one up. Looking at the marker in the cemetery, you got a begin date, an end date. How do you want to be remembered?
I don't give a damn. I tell you this, if they don't treat me with respect, I will be somewhere raising hell with anybody that's trying to undo what I tried to do.
Thank you, Ambassador. Okay.
They said that your seating is where you were for the breakfast. Right?
Said, well, since that was nowhere.
I said I wasn't here. I said I'm here for Dr. Joyce Dorsey. Mm-hmm. Okay, but do you have your ticket? Mm-hmm. I'm here.
Do you hear me now?
Wow.
All paid up.
For Dr. Joyce Dorsey backup. And so, and I told Clyde, now we were on, what is it, table 12. I said, now, I did see him look at this, but you know,
yeah.
Look, it was on the front row, but it was all the way over there. I said,
So is this the best you can do?
You look, is that the one? Is that
what did Joyce say?
Yeah.
You know, I said, you can't do anything for this. How many years have I been supporting this event with ads and everything? Are you kidding?
So you know, he was
over.
He was the gatekeeper. But it was something. No, I didn't.
You just went on and kept
because guess what happened? As I was coming in, I didn't know they were beginning. Remember the opening? Were you in there for the opening of the luncheon?
I think so.
When they announced, and they did have an announcement for the power of woman, da da da, and they had the light on and everything, and so I didn't know that was supposed to happen, but I was standing up there with me on that, and all the rest of them, and walked in,
represent yourself. That was your opportunity. See, you see how the Lord works?
Down through the middle.
That was your opportunity.
Yeah.
This is God.
Yeah. Say, you talking about me? Hello. You're right. I can just see your chest going out. Yes, you're talking about me.
Well,
Lord have
show you the power of the
so I
woman.
was standing there and they put the light, to the back of the room.
She looks a little different, but she sure look good.
Like, okay, so I let them go on through and I just came on right behind them.
You always look good, so they knew you were important. Well, sometimes they have to show them how. There you go.
You do. I said, okay.
See, that means that you're next in line.
Oh.
Somebody should have.
Prophetic, you hear that right?
Mm-hmm.
That's right. That's what it is.
Ooh.
Donna.
You have been introduced favorably.
You gonna be here for her?
Oh, yeah, right.
Because she told me. And I said, hold up. Where did
They gave them an idea for next year. Because this year I was not getting up early in the morning because something was going on the day before.
Yes,
that made me say, oh no.
It was your foot.
There's a good thing about recognition, but sometimes it just goes too far. It's like, what? We got to get up at 6 to go
in the morning.
Stand in the line. Hi, my name is Joyce Dorsey. Find me on page number 2. Bye. I'm sorry.
This is beautiful. That is beautiful. I like it.
But it goes to that.
And my board.
I like people who are real.
Yeah.
It goes to that for the things that how you say we have set up.
Right.
And I will say that this is something that Ms. Bussey has spoken to.
Yes.
That the first Super Tuesday for History Day.
That's right. She said that.
Was free.
That's right.
She did have
it was free. I remember going to it, because I didn't have no money to pay to go to that. I said, free? Okay. That's how I got involved.
Super Tuesday.
Really?
But
Where
she
did
was
she
smart.
have it?
It was at the,
Wasn't it at a community, was it at a hotel? I don't think it was.
no, it wasn't at a
It wasn't
hotel.
at a hotel, and so, cause see, that's what we have to come back to our consciousness
Yeah,
about,
yeah.
actually. Because
and it
now,
wasn't the city
this is
auditorium.
at the Hyatt,
Mhm.
we understand, as Reverend Jackson has broke it down to us,
Right.
that the Hyatt was the first place
Yeah, yeah.
that allowed Dr. King to
That's right.
sleep.
There you go.
Mm-hmm. And so this is like an homage to
Right.
that. However,
Yeah.
some of it, because of course for all, creating opportunities, what is it, Peachtree Street
Right.
project or whatever, we have schools that could greatly benefit,
Right.
that have awesome auditoriums,
Yeah.
cafetoriums,
Right.
for this.
Yes, that's right. Where we
As
can
well.
reduce.
Put the money
It's about the
into
glamour, and the black woman has had to rise. And until you can get a venue where people say, "Oh, I want to be a part of that."
that. Yes, right.
That's what has
That's
happened.
that's what
Yeah.
I'm saying.
Yeah.
Because remember, and again, I am blessed to have been with you and her and others, Rita,
Right.
and others, because I see how you all have it. This is a true fortune to see them in operation.
Mhm.
Okay, have been beside them and doing and
Right.
getting things
Right.
done.
Right.
It's like I know to not offer an apology or anything, or anything. No, because we need to do this, and this is how it needs to be
And
done.
see, you mentioned Rita Samuel, and I think of her and Dorothy Bolden, who used to meet over there on Ponce Leon at the United Methodist Church right there at the corner of Parkway. And
Wow.
Ponce. Is that Grace United Methodist?
Wow.
And they met in the basement of the church, and nobody knew it, but that was, of course, a Caucasian church that was beginning to have ethnic blend and talk about women's issues. And I would come to the meeting, all sassy like I am now, and they say, "Joyce, shut up, and you listen to us.
I have no problem.
You ain't nowhere yet." I'm going, "Oh, that's right. I really am not. I'm struggling. Ain't got no money. Ain't got no name recognition. I will shut up." That's what I said to myself. Shut up. These were the women who were really out there, and people were paying them attention.
They were.
Because Dorothy Bolden knew no fear about upper echelon. She had been a maid. She was speaking for maids, and the powers that be were listening to her because they knew that the number of maids, when she said, "We will walk off if you don't listen," I'm going, wow.
Exactly.
Look,
see, you give me chills.
And then of course Rita was nobody's pawn. What you gonna do for us? I don't want to talk to you until you tell me what you gonna do for us.
That's right.
And that type of insinuation of power.
That's what I'm saying. I'm
was
telling
like,
you. I'm
sitting down. I read to take notes, but I didn't want nobody to know I didn't know nothing.
Oh no!
I
Look,
was
she
nodding like,
even
yes,
said that to me one time. Sharon, you're always right. What you writing about?
Yeah. But it was,
Yeah.
we have.
I always take notes.
Me
I'm
too.
writing notes.
That's
too.
right.
I always. But that's what she would, say. But having, been around you all and seeing you, as I brought to you before the last time, regarding the multicultural
That's
summit.
right. That's right.
That was done.
We got to make sure we
bring
keep that
all of
Right.
the community together
Right.
for getting out the vote.
That's right. And it's getting ready to happen.
Oh my God!
It's getting ready to happen.
It's here. You got everybody on the
That's right.
ground.
That's right.
And then again, the PIE, public information education, that was
I like
was
that.
connecting
Yeah.
the agencies across the state
Right.
under Governor Barnes, and
Uh-huh.
it didn't gel just the way it needed to.
Yeah, but see, it started the momentum,
Most definitely, and now for engagement. That was for citizen engagement.
There you go.
And here we have come full circle now, because that's all anybody talks about.
Everybody hear that, huh?
Engagement, because that's what it was. It was to connect with the action agencies.
That's right.
And other social
All over the
service
state and the nation.
all over the state.
That's right.
And they would set up these, and pretty much we're doing it now,
Right.
because you know we have all these health expos and this
Forums
wellness
here and there.
Right.
So that's what it was. It was they were to go to the different counties and have sort of like an expo,
Right.
where the people in that community would know who to go for what they need to know.
And you know what? When you and Luz Roman pulled off that multicultural forum up at the Atlanta's March,
Yes.
my first question was, how did we get here? who allowed us to come in there with people from all walks of cultures
Everything. Yes.
and talk about the various things that we needed to do for synergy?
Yes.
Now that was like 19.
What was it?
99.
99.
It could have been in the early 2000s.
Wow.
When these kinds of things, these symposiums were not happening.
And right.
At large.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
The common
And she
objectives.
and she was in charge of that corner over yonder.
Yeah.
Well, tell about what was going on with the Butler Street. Butler Street Forum.
And I said that, well.
You mean the
Hungry Club.
The Hungry Club.
The Hungry Club is now hungry for rejuvenation.
It is.
You know, in the last years of Dr. William Sonny Walker, we were looking at how do we rejuvenate the Hungry Club, because it has not been duplicated, and because of its type of communication, that is the blend from up and down,
Yes.
all around, we have not had
Right.
the kind of
Right.
conversation that comes from that kind of an organization. And the why, of course, couldn't continue.
Right.
And so with him and I working together, I said, this is our job. Let's get
It
started.
is. It
We've
is.
got to do something.
You know, we actually paid a visit to Dr. McGaha at Atlanta Metropolitan.
Good.
And because of having it at the school
Right. That would be beautiful.
would be most awesome
Right.
for the students
Right.
at both schools,
That's right.
as well as the community.
Yes.
And you know, you can see that, we have the different people coming in speaking
Yeah.
about
That's right.
history and other things
That's
and
right.
opportunities and resources that everyone would want to come to. And it was always during lunchtime.
That's right.
That's what we've done.
In a venue that's easy to get to.
And you don't have to pay for parking.
That's a big deal.
That's
And
important.
that, because you know what that says to people? It says that you care.
Yes.
You
We're taking
really
into
do.
consideration all of the convenience, the
That's
cost,
right.
and the energy.
That's right. We need you to
Yeah.
be here.
Yeah.
And so for whatever time, and again, lunchtime is where it is. So Clyde has those pictures,
Wow.
pictures of all of the meetings, and it was most
Donna, you
awesome.
can take that with you.
Oh, okay. Most
All right,
awesome
give you an idea.
was the fact that the Hungry Club Forum, more than the other organizations, I've always lived in Cobb, but
We always thought you were here.
I've always been here.
Because of your circulation throughout.
I've started in Marietta, and then we moved to Powder Springs, and now I was in Paulding County for about 8 years. And then now back in-
But you wouldn't happen to be a Gemini, would you?
No, I know, but I am a Virgo Libra cusp.
Okay.
The 22nd.
Yeah, wherever you want, you are just there.
That's
Yeah.
it. That is it.
Yeah.
But we have always been in Cobb, and I've always, like I said, it's most awesome. And I guess I haven't been into it because I experienced past schools. I experienced
The old and the new?
old and the new. I know what it's like to be sitting there and making backs and kind of
That's
like
right.
steps.
That's right.
That you're sitting there
Yeah.
across, from Hosea Williams.
Right. And these guys were ordinary. It wasn't, you didn't feel any imposition.
You know what I told them? What did I talk about? I think on People TV, I spoke about it. How you could be in there and you're at one table and they're at another one and another group is at another one.
Yeah.
And they holler across, hey, so-and-so.
That's right. Our manners didn't matter.
It was, but it was manners, and it was that, you know, all
because
there.
we were still struggling to be something.
It was most awesome to be there, and because that's where the Concerned Black Clergy meetings were.
That's right.
I remember.
That's right.
And
Ministers Union.
I remember.
That's what it was at first.
And when I was in the business incubator at Morris Brown, I had the opportunity to write Mr. Hunter's bio for their Hunter, what is it, the MLK
Hunter Street.
Business Association.
That's right.
Business Association.
Wow.
So
I'd love to see how that turned out.
Oh,
You're talking about some history that a lot of folk have
don't even know that Hunter Street,
no
that
recollection.
MLK was Hunter Street.
Yeah, other than the Atlanta Daily World, which I need to dig into the archives. The Atlanta Daily World covered all of that stuff from the 1930s.
Wow.
See, that was when you had to have at least some newspaper so that there was a vehicle of information since it wasn't covered in the standard news. And every now and then the AJC might pick up something that was usually something that had a lot of controversy.
Of course. Oh.
Very little celebration.
Okay.
We didn't even put too much in the death column.
Wow.
Not in the AJC. No, not really, because,
oh my goodness.
well, who had a subscription, honey?
Right.
I mean, you know, you might have been a pastor of a large church or somebody with whatever is called significance. That's when those were placed in the obituary. And eventually it became commonplace around the late 60s and 70s.
Okay. Wow. See that?
Things broke loose and we kind of turned each other loose. And that's part of what.
Oh, say
bothers
it
me.
again.
Yeah, when things broke loose and we were able to get here, there, and everywhere with very little consternation, we broke loose from our own selves.
Oh my goodness.
But this is happening in families, black, white.
Right.
Children
We
are
don't
going
come
here,
back
there,
home
around
to
where they
family
are.
business.
Come back to a funeral maybe, or a wedding.
But not family business.
No.
And let go of the house, the home.
Yeah,
this
the
and
home is a
everything.
place where memories occur, and that's all. I know passing by the home I grew up in, we see it, and it had gone down, and now it's coming back up, and we're not the ones that did any of that.
So you grew up here?
Yeah, I grew up on Westlake Avenue and Harwell Street.
Really?
Yeah. And Courier Street, which was a part of Buttermilk Bottom. So, you know, the African Americans migrated from community to community as Atlanta expanded.
Right.
Okay, see.
So from Buttermilk Bottom to the west side.
West side.
And then from the west side to the outer west side, which was beyond the park. What was it? Mosley Park.
Mosley. Okay.
Mosley Park was a kind of dividing spot.
Okay, so Mosley Park was the divider, and you were at Westlake and what? Westlake.
Westlake Avenue, where Martin Luther King
and Harwell.
Station and down that street.
Where's Harwell?
Harwell is right there off of Martin Luther King at Washington High, right at the
Right there.
there.
Okay, right near. Okay.
Yeah, it's actually Ollie Street, which takes you to Harwell.
Okay.
Yeah. But so we're talking about from the underclass to the working class to the middle class. I don't think I ever got any further than that. The elites, well, you all just keep on doing well. I probably will never meet that level. Because I love working for the people who are struggling.
Yeah.
And the elites kind of abandoned that. I'm sorry to say it that way because there are a few that don't. But in general, the elites abandon that. We almost don't want to take note of our ascension through the maze to where we are now. So in terms of maybe income and access, I might meet that elite, but I decry it because it leaves you out. In fact, those who are on the lower round disdain any of us who claim to be in any type of elite position. It's like, well, why are you forgetting where you came from?
That's
You know,
right.
and many have done that.
Wow.
Many.
And so, you know what, with the Economic Development Committee, CDC, that is what Ms. Bussey constantly drives, because she's saying, no, we don't want to do this the way they say we're supposed to do it.
Right.
We've always had businesses.
Right.
home-based businesses.
That's right.
They're still businesses.
That's right.
And I came
Even
across
sharecroppers were home-based. Are you kidding?
Oh,
When you think
If
about
we
it.
really examine history.
And so I came across a video that she had at one of our meetings, was introducing Harold Alexander over by the railroad.
Yeah.
And she said, you all think you're doing something, you think you're carrying something when you use that CEO, you want to be CEO
Right.
and COO and all of that.
Yeah.
She said, no,
That's right.
you want to be a business owner.
There you go.
Just the owner.
That's right.
That's
right.
That's
I'm
more
CEO,
powerful,
right?
right?
And I don't own
But
it.
that's not
That's
what
right.
you've been told.
That's right.
What have you been told?
To be
You need to be the CEO.
That's right. We'll make you a big shot, but you're not getting this.
Hello?
You're not
And,
getting this.
and there you go.
You're still subjected to us.
That's
See?
what it says.
That's
Even
what
if
it says.
it's American Express.
Doesn't matter.
That's right.
The CEO.
That's right.
But the
Not
owner.
the
The
owner.
says something.
So how you and it's I see the people sitting there and they're, trying to understand.
Yeah.
But I have to share with them, as you
Right.
have been with the whole community development,
Right.
community empowerment.
Yeah.
So was she and her husband.
Uh-huh.
They have co-ops,
Yeah.
building
Yeah.
other floors,
That's right.
buildings,
That's right.
training people
Yeah.
in business.
Yeah. And going through
come
the
on now.
hassle of competition.
Mm.
Wait a minute now. When you have set up some exotic floral
Come on
arrangements
now.
and someone else sees that, oh, I can do that.
Yeah.
Plus I have more capital behind me. So let me go on and do this and start passing my cards out as we go to these meetings, putting ads in the book as we go to these meetings, and people turn to us. I'm sorry I put you out of business, but you should be more competitive. honey.
Wow.
You
Okay.
understand?
And
You've got to grind a little harder. And you've got to get some more corporate financing to
Understood.
match me, because I walked in with it all already. Okay. But that's how the mold is. Black and white. There are a few of the African American quality that has done that too. But in the ocean, the big sharks, the little sharks.
right.
And the little sharks go back somewhere and plot and stay behind the rock until they become big sharks. And then they might fight and
Come out.
Yeah.
Yes.
And that's how capitalism works.
It's important for us to see what has gone forth, and that is what, over the time, with Clyde and the pictures,
Yeah.
it is captured.
That's right.
Yeah.
Well, I told him he is sitting on a fortune.
Yes.
And you are his producer, so you both of you need to just kind of
Rico,
figure out how to take this ocean liner
Ocean line. Oh, okay.
and find some deep enough waters.
Okay.
Okay.
Start floating. That's it.
Set sail. Okay.
I want to see that happen.
Wow.
Because we're talking about now legacy building. How do you take someone who has been so grassroots that he's denied himself employment, denied himself entrance, but yet still, when there is no other photographer around, come on and take these pictures.
Exactly.
We're not going to pay you. Okay, you're not going to pay me, so I'll keep it. And when you're ready to pay me, I'll let it go. You don't pay me, eventually I'll make they're mine.
Exactly.
You hear me?
Exactly.
I'm talking about entrepreneurship.
That's right.
If you don't help me make my way, I'm going to figure out a way to make my own way.
Right.
Because I believe in the good Lord. He will make
And
a way.
he will. And yes, to how you say, and so there we are with him coming full circle.
Yeah.
I can say that he did listen. Clyde, go take that picture over there. Go get so-and-so.
That's right.
Don't put them two together.
Yeah, you gotta look at politics. You put them together, you don't show nobody.
Look, and I said it just like that. Not
There's politics in pictures,
No, them two. Don't do that.
There you go.
Don't do that.
Yeah.
And he eventually began
That's right.
to be around
That's
and find on his own.
That's right.
Okay.
Yeah.
What all of that really meant.
Yeah.
You need to have this. That's the picture, because that is
Savvy. That's
Not
right.
a picture.
Yeah.
Smart. Most definitely.
And I guess I've gone from that to being the official photographer for Friday night and Thursday and Friday Rep Jackson event.
Okay.
Well,
in
more demand of you than me.
Come on, Urban League.
That's right.
What we're talking about.
Yeah.
You are here.
Atlanta Business League.
You are here.
Yeah, but when you talk about also name recognition sources, then you are actually paving the way for more to come. Sort of like advertisement.
That's right.
One person see this from the upper echelon. That looks good. He's holding it still too. He's taking the right angles.
Okay.
Looks good. We need to try that.
Okay.
And don't let him be the interviewer. He knows how to ask the right questions.
Oh, don't you know?
Yeah.
Don't you know?
All right, so we're charging you for that.
Don't you know?
Eventually.
Don't you know? Don't you know? Well, you know, that came from me not being able to be everywhere.
There you go.
I would tell him,
send an
go
ambassador.
there.
That's what they mean.
This is what, look, this is what you need to ask. This is what you need to ask. This is what you need to ask.
Well, now, wait, now, we're talking about you, my lady. You've got a lot of pictures somewhere.
Oh, yes, well, I do.
And yours are even more historical. Some of them are controversial.
Well,
You've covered some rallies and some rowdy meetings. When you start thinking about that, you know, you pull one out and you hand it to the right person. Oh, yeah, I found you in my book.
Yes.
You're in my album. Oh, well, no, I don't give them out. But eventually I'm going to produce them and you can buy them.
Something. I know, right?
How do you ascend?
You know, I did put something on to finally Public Eye Report TV Facebook page yesterday.
Good.
I spoke at a church yesterday
Oh.
on voter engagement.
Yes.
I'd spoken at the State of Black Hawk the week before, and that pastor said, I think I would like for you to come.
Well, next thing it'll be Women's Day,
Come on.
Founders Day, and any other day.
It's been far, look, there's been few in between, but it was funny because I didn't know what to wear.
Make it interesting, conversant on certain topics. And all of it relates to the church.
The church.
Yeah. Remember, it was the black church that founded all of these movements.
But that's what
but a lot of us don't even do that, and we don't even go to the black churches. That's why they've had to go into prosperity teaching, because we don't go.
Social justice is where we have to get that.
That's where we begin.
Because that is at the core of our civic stewardship. And stewardship, as it goes, is who we are for what we are purposed for.
But that was at the core of the Jesus Christ ministry.
Definitely. Most definitely. Doing what must be done. We are, and that's what I told them
We are all
yesterday.
God's children, treat us all the same.
And we are our sister and brothers keepers.
That's right.
That's so. In doing so, that's what we are espousing. It's very.
You got the right gesticulation too.
Oh, you do. Look
I love it. A star has been born a long time ago and now it's shining. I love it.
Wow.
Yeah. I speak it into prophecy. It's going to happen.
Oh my goodness. Well, bless
I just
you.
need you to go and get your portfolio. And let me update it.
It's just updated. Okay.
And bio is on come.
Okay. Well, I'm just really honored that for receiving Clyde, that we have you two esteemed legends, because you are.
It's like the legend of Sleepy Hollow. It can be quite scary. Let's get on the controversial issue.
But that's what it's about, because we have to be in truth in order to speak the truth to power.
That's right.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so at the core though of us all is education.
Sure.
And so how you say it, it's like we can't go to the next step without you. And the importance of it, of what you have brought to make sure that people understand the different facets and how important education is for well-rounded.
That's right.
Reading makes a ready man, and writing a precise man. I believe that's how it goes.
And that's what you're talking about.
I didn't know that. My mother was an educator, so she used to
okay, I see where you're coming from.
cite everything.
I'm sure you had to sit at the table of knowledge quite a bit.
My Lord have mercy.
Reading makes a writing man, a ready man.
Okay.
And writing makes a precise man.
There you go.
I think that's how it
Because
goes.
if you lose your precision, somebody's gonna call you on it. Especially if you put it in writing.
And so I think that's how it goes, because what I give that to is that if you read any and everything, you are then ready to speak and talk on any and everything.
I see.
That
makes sense.
You can have some point of reference on some level.
Because of what
you read. And the key is to read some of everything. If you don't read all of their books, you've read something or you've heard about it, you know about this, you know about that. So that makes the difference, where we can now go from what was said to where we need to, share and then provide other means of information to.
Yeah.
So,
on that piece on education that you're saying, there was a conversation with Roger Bruce in terms of taking the photos to Savannah School of Art.
Yeah.
He turned around and said no.
Why?
Because he wanted to keep it in the black community.
Okay.
He's saying, well, we can go.
So many African Americans there who need to see some documentation of our climbing to where we are.
Right. When he was saying, well, you can go and get a studio, and you can get the students to come there.
Yeah.
They can dialogue, and they can come together and they can look at it all.
That's right.
All right. But he wanted to keep it in the community.
That could be the macro.
And see, I guess.
The macro is getting it into other places.
And I guess the other piece was being able to let some of the kids see the pictures, and from that they can write.
There you go.
Right.
Yeah. And encouraged.
And that was a short conversation with Superintendent, what's her name? Kostafian?
Oh, Kostafian.
Yeah, there was a short conversation with her along with Joel.
See, but once you do it, they will see it and say, let's do it.
Well, this is what
while you're talking, it's not too much motivation because they don't want it.
Yeah. So, we're going to do it.
Good.
Okay.
All right.
So what I need is the big picture. So you've taught books, you've taught gallery showings. So what exactly? What do you want? And where
do we start? Where do we start? Where do we start? Go.
You know, something that is not necessarily cataclysmic, but something that people don't necessarily see in the common news network. And that is the black realization of what we're going through. When you look at Black Lives Matter, when you look at the crime that the youth are perpetrating, and then you look at the successes that we're trying to retain and build up, there needs to be a synergy of all of these visuals that make us understand what is so complex about the African American experience. And so when we look at something like Chicago, historical city that is chopped into neighborhoods, but then you start relating it to Michigan, where Detroit and Flint and some of the others, same paradigm. You even look at Atlanta and you see the same. Then you begin to look at the problem of the African American experience, and you see why it is what it is. So why is it that black economics has not risen to the level that it can? It's because if you are set up in dissected regions, you're not concentrating about what's happening on the black side of the railroad track, up the road where the houses are prettier. You're looking at how can I victimize them because they got what I ain't got.
Right.
And we're so busy paying attention to that we're not paying attention to how these leaders are talking about bringing up the disadvantaged, but they don't really know the formula. And so out of those pictures, you have a few examples of the elite going into the school system, making speeches, or someone like Andy Young or Reverend Lowery going into the situations where the lower income children are and everybody's swarming around them. These are some of the steps that we need to show that are necessary. And then when we take a picture of Regency Park, way out in South Fulton, new homes up in Buckhead and Roswell and Johns Creek, where we are moving. Well, then we are starting to look at dots on a calendar or on a map that show where we really are, and not where we need to go and rob, but how do we study the pathway? And how do you teach people who are disadvantaged how to run that road and be methodical in their planning enough to get out of the straits? And I think that the world of pictures, it's like the civil rights movement. When we saw the ugly face, the way the murder of Emmett Till was portrayed on the front of the Jet and Ebony magazines, that let us know really what is going on. And when we read the story, it let us understand how just what you say can get you killed. It's got to have that type of impact. So we do need to construct that in order to answer your question. Because there's a pathway to getting all of this, not only out like in a book you want to do. Because a book is good. A lot of my books are over there, and folk might look over them and look for something more contemporary. We're not as interested in history because history leaves it right there. It does not have a bridge to say that these things are still relevant.
And that's what this actually is, because being chronicled through the pictures are, because, my God, how long, Clyde? We have from what women have done.
Right.
And then the social justice.
The protests.
Protest rallies.
Right.
You have those that, I mean, those pictures.
Right.
See, those pictures bridge.
I am Troy Davis.
From the, okay, those things.
Or the white woman reciting, and ain't I a woman? I mean, when I heard white sisters speak that, I said, well, I can't. She remembered it from the top to the bottom like an Easter speech. We used to hear that.
Right,
right. But I went and read that. I said, my God. It was through her lips that I got connected.
That you really
I had to look at it in my black history lessons.
Right.
But I'm going, that made it sound so powerful. She was reciting it because it had the meaning in that realm. I was in the battered women's movement trying to educate African American women. You don't have to live like that. You need to be assertive. You need to say stop. You need to say I won't take it anymore. This was what our white soul sisters were saying. They started the battered women's movement. We started the fighting back. I mean, our movement was fight back. Don't take none of that.
Hold on.
Not taking that.
Not taking that.
So
yes.
So getting back to where does the synergy begin? Where
it begins with the Enlightenment. First of all, we need to say we ain't doing nothing but talking.
Okay.
We're writing cute books, and they make good table pieces. They look good. My sister has a house. She even has a table that's got like a library on that side and a library on that side. Then folks say, "Oh, where'd you get this book from?" And then they put it back.
Want to make it relevant.
So what? Yeah.
Conversations. See,
so then
how do we get the pictures? How do we get the pictures into the conversation?
The conversations while you're talking. What do they call that when the picture floats up and then another one floats up?
Oh, okay. So
you're talking about a video where the pictures, where people are talking and the pictures cover their voices and show.
That's right.
Okay.
Something that's introduction.
Okay.
Because so many people are not connected with the history. They might know it on generality level, but they may not know it in terms of specifics or dates or
like
was really involved.
who we were just speaking about, these pictures here, history, when
Yes.
we say.
Who is that?
That is Reverend Vivian, Reverend Jackson, Reverend Bolden,
Yes.
and
Yeah.
JT.
Yeah, that's true history right there.
Right there.
And then when you go back to the 60s
occurred.
and you see Martin Luther King and
Reverend
Reverend Holmes, Reverend Dorsey, and Reverend Cersei, and all of these other reverends that started Operation Breadbasket in different areas that opened the jobs. See, the jobs in Atlanta didn't just come from graduating from college.
Right.
It came from the pulpit. It came from the minister saying, all right, IBM needs 5 secretaries, but we're not going to recommend nobody that doesn't know how to type, can't spell, can't dress right, don't brush your teeth, don't comb your hair. We need somebody, and before I send you to them, I'm interviewing you in my office on Tuesday night.
You see that? Wow.
And they set up a process for recommending people to Delta Airlines, AT&T, IBM, and all of the major corporations, CNS Bank, which is now Bank of America, evolved into that nation, Bank of America. And you look at that, at just the Atlanta history. Then you look at the Selma history, and you look at the other history, and you understand why Selma has not grown, because everybody got those particular papers and left. They didn't stay to build the city. That's what's wrong with Flint, Michigan. They didn't stay. That's what happened to Detroit. The ones that stayed gobbled up the power and a lot of the resources, and it has not grown to its potential. And as it's becoming to its potential, it's not being done by the African Americans who predominated or dominated the population. Let's put it that way.
Okay.
So your methodology, you sit down and you strategize the roadmap to how, where do we want to go? So what's going on? How do we get the powers that be and the people who make up or constitute the actual strategy that is needed?
Here's one, our voice, our vote. That, I can't make out who that is, but that is Senator Nail Jones. And so our voice, our vote, we have here Reverend Lowery in the middle. So here is a black senator that is in office now. That was not when he started.
That's right.
Now we know.
Okay, so what were the components of their personality? What were their traits that made someone listen to them? And that's the part that I think we are not really looking at. I still laud the guts of Black Lives Matter. I don't like that behavior, but that's because of anger. That's because of enlightened awareness as to what's really wrong. But once you can get past the anger, you can intellectualize what's really going on and what we need to do. And many of your young people who are talking about kill the police, F the police, whatever language they're choosing to use, they're not able to make their point because even we are repelling that. Don't you come in my building and talk like that.
And it's no different than the other thing is, remember when, what were the other rap groups back in the day?
All of them, Cool Mo D on down, and some of them have made it to popular TV,
and all that, Ice-T and all that, because that's what that was a survival move, though. That was. And
even Tupac did that.
Right. And even in a sense, okay, so from where they were, their respective communities that they came from. But I used to tell my son, because he started rapping and writing, right?
He was a part of his time.
I asked him, "What hood you from?"
Okay. That's it. I'll tell you, but I ain't telling nobody else. My home ain't no hood, boy.
How are you gonna? What are you putting together? Or what experience can you put that to? But because of I'm Tupac had Machiavelli and that's and so we know that what that really means is how we have to take it by force.
Yeah.
But what force?
Yeah, and at what expense? Yeah, somebody see you, my son, talking about hood stuff, they're going like, really? Y'all live there? Which one?
Was it, you know, where have you walked down where?
But my sons did a similar thing. Oh, and my oldest one really can.
Oh.
But I mean, you know, I wouldn't play it because it hurts the eardrums too. Not only deal with the beat, but the language stuff. So I developed the rap.
Okay, yeah.
And I had a beat put to it, and the title of it was "Children, Please Don't Come Back Home." Mama has a wife of home.
No.
And if I published that, no, it would probably change a whole lot, and it was for quite a few months.
Okay.
And I think it might do well.
Yeah,
I know.
Yeah, I gave you everything, and I treated you real good, and I did all the things that a young parent should. Now, I went on down. You know, I won't give all the lyrics away.
That's right.
They were saying, you can't do nothing like that. No, you my mama, you can't do that. I said, but you my son.
Are you doing that?
And I got the whole thing to crash for about 2 years. They just said, if you do yours, I'm going to do mine. Because you can make money from one group, and I can make money from this. Is going to empower so many parents.
They came back with a plan. That was brilliant.
Yeah, we haven't heard one of his records yet.
Oh, mercy. Well, I supported him. I did, you know, support him. And you heard it.
You can do that as long as you don't say nothing about my house and my family. Are you kidding?
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Well, and it was, you know, well, because, you know, hey,
It probably had a little message
he'd
going
been here when doing voter registration.
That's right.
We went to North Carolina when we were, well, yes, to the flag with Reverend Jackson and voter registration over here, you know, and for sisters only and stuff like that. At the B103, they allowed him to, you know, do the DJ and everything at the basketball games. Basketball games, yes. And ended up, what was that, just a few years ago, I guess, he opened for, oh goodness, 3-6 Mafia.
Yeah, but see, that way now. I have a nephew who's doing very well. Yeah, but he's a producer. And see, they learn to get into that strategy.
Right.
But they're doing some of the things that the porn industry is doing. You know, we don't know who's really producing the porn, but they're making some good money.
You knew.
And we don't know who's really, we do know who. It's like Michael Jackson exposed Sony and all the others that were taking advantage of the black rappers.
Wow.
So we've got to look at a methodology, and I think that
and it's bringing them. And that's just an example, because look, a lot of these pictures, some of these like are at Ebenezer.
Yes.
And thankfully they captured the foot soldiers as well as ground crew. So that's something to break it down, because see, now you understand when they are doing rallies and marching, it's just everybody show up.
Right.
There was, what we were trying to get them to see is that there was always organization.
Right.
There was always training.
Right.
So maybe that's
that there was always organization, there was always training, there was always the strategy. We have to remember the bus boycott. It was already, it was set. It was set. It was just
somebody organized that.
It was just win.
And set the strategy and the discipline. And said you can't fight back. Oh, that took great discipline. What do you mean? Somebody's gonna hit me and I'm not supposed to hit them back? If they spit in your face, in your eye, in your mouth, don't fight back.
Okay.
If
they say this.
Yeah.
And now, because you know, hey, words. Now. A quick reflex.
And these young folk are not really equipped, because we didn't teach them what we went through.
Right, now you just put it on social media, we're going to be here at a certain time, certain place.
That's right.
And everybody
and that's it.
And they're going to stop the traffic. They don't say that.
They're going to stop the traffic. They're going to stop.
And that is a powerful thing.
On I-85 and
I looked at that and I'm going, God.
That was amazing.
Because it can
But
be
nobody
done.
had a real statement to make
No.
when they stopped.
And so that's
That's the problem.
So see, that's the bridge. It is about the bridge.
Right.
It is about the bridge because
Yeah.
he has the pictures that have not just the veterans, legends, and icons,
Yeah.
but the new synergy, the 21st century. We have how Reverend Sharpton has put young people and women
Right.
in charge of things.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, but that took a while.
well, most definitely. But it took what? Him doing it.
Right.
And so in that, as we see, now you have the females that started Black Lives Matter.
Right. That's right.
So when you see a little girl who's like, what, how old was she, 10, 12 years
And
old,
she
or
could
13?
recite.
Okay, Mary Pat Hector.
Yeah.
And he makes her national youth director.
Yeah.
She had her own youth organization.
Right.
And he comes along and says,
And empowers.
Right. Which is really smart.
okay, but wasn't that what happened with Dr. King? And it was Dr. Boynton and Dr. Lafayette that called him to sell him?
Yeah. Yeah. But remember this now, there was a lot more wisdom
At
of the ages.
Then, yes.
Yeah,
because
so you're
of
talking about
what had
folk
gone
who were
through.
truly sick and tired
No,
of
yes,
this.
yes, and I'm listening.
So it's like, okay, let's look at what matters. And there was a lot of opposition to Dr. King coming, you know, and that took a while to resolve.
What is time now? What did you just say about social media?
Right.
See?
Yeah.
And so we have to, because it's not spoken about because they say, well, y'all just want us to do things the old way. It's not about old. It's about some things tried and true.
Right.
That's what will help us get through to where we're trying to be.
And learning from history.
Learn. Yes.
You know.
Because each, again, that's Ebenezer, really fun.
No.
I just pulled the one and there's me. But isn't that the Fred Depot?
It might be.
That was Wild Hog Night, I think, or something maybe.
The pig.
Okay. Now, I'm going to stretch this conversation to another level where the possibilities exist. Common media, where you got young guys like Rashad Richard and Derek Bozeman, and on some of the other stations, I'm speaking of black stations particularly for a reason.
Okay.
And then you've got 860 AM, what is that now?
Right, that's Love 860.
Love 860.
And that runs the gamut,
And
for sure.
it has a wider reach
Right.
than even WAOK.
And why is
although
that?
You get most of them online now.
And why is that?
Well, it's the church, though. Yeah, it's
Well,
more the church. Now tell me what that
Which
is.
one is
It has the signal of WERD.
Voters
Black.
Oh, right.
WERD. Now,
Yes.
WERD.
Love 860.
Love 860.
WAEC.
Yeah. And
That's
WERD was
I'm not
once on
familiar.
Auburn Avenue.
Yes. It's
Right
on
there where
North
it's-
South.
I know about WERD, but I didn't know Love 860
Oh,
would have
yes.
It
become.
has the same,
Call Love it.
signal.
It
Really?
is, yes.
I did not know
That's
that.
why we
Yeah.
can hear it.
that's why we can hear it, but it was all religious stations anyway, and they will
Yeah.
get more approval.
And what are they
for that.
doing with it now?
Oh, it's still a church. It's black and white. You
Oh, okay.
hear a lot of
I guess I have
eclectic
I know
information.
about common media, but I don't know about that. And I know the history of WERD.
Yes.
Well, okay, but not John. I'm going to take you back a little history. How many of you were in Atlanta in the 60s?
No.
Okay,
No,
so
wait.
what you had was the black church, which was the center of the black community. Black businesses were very small. They were up and down Auburn Avenue, a little bit on Edgewood Avenue, and out Hunter Street, which is now called Martin Luther King. It was not in the West End. It was not on Bankhead. The West End was white. Bankhead was white. You understand? So you had this corridor where Martin Luther King stretches over to the east side, right at the Capitol.
Right.
And then there's a jump off to Auburn Avenue, going down Peachtree on back. And if you look at Old Fourth Ward, and I think that Hunter Street might have been Fifth Ward, maybe. Atlanta was separated into wards.
Right.
So in this ward, you had all one color, all one kind. You had the Jewish ward, you had the white ward, you had the black ward.
That's English Avenue.
English,
the white
that
school.
was the white school.
That's right. That's right.
So if you think of Atlanta's history, you're able to put this all together. Then you understand why Pascal's was the center for a lot of meetings. And on the east side, why Ebenezer was the center. Yeah. And but out of the Auburn Avenue experience, we saw the growth of SCLC. And push came after SCLC. And of course, Jesse Jackson started off with SCLC and moved on up to Chicago. And Chicago was doing its own thing, but it was not coagulated until Operation Rainbow came. Rainbow. It was not pushed, it was Rainbow.
But he was working under, what was it, the breadbasket?
Yes, under Lowery. Under Lowery. And all of those groups came in after the Seminole experience. Okay, because each church was doing its own thing, you know, and a lot of the food that went out to the community came through the church. And when the community action movement came along, this movement that I'm a part of, you had food distribution, and it went through the black churches in every community all along the United States.
The government.
The government. So everybody knew when to go and get their distribution from the truck.
That's
and they used their church basements, and the members of the church, even the ones that lived around the church that didn't go to the church, could come and get their cheese and rice and pinto beans, peanut butter, and all of the other things that were really what you call the rudimentary needs in addition to the bread. That's right. So all of the churches, and this is what was not intended, and that was you had community organization going on, where the preachers began to preach empowerment messages, and we shall overcome attitudes.
What is it? Tell me about the cup.
Okay.
What the cup say? Tell me about the cup.
Economic Opportunity Atlanta Incorporated.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. And now she's
it's embracing, celebrating the past, and embracing the future.
Oh, I did that event, didn't I?
Yes.
See that?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we basically, so you see that
and
where
there's
we.
that. And there's you gotta breathe.
The bridge.
You last week. And Marie still has a Christmas.
Mary?
I know, right? Mary still has a Christmas. And I said, okay, so this theme here, she said, it's called the 70 because I'm 70 and I'm not replacing all of it.
That is hilarious.
It is because it had the Halloween and then the Christmas was up. She said, and upstairs is still Christmas, Susan, because
that is too funny.
Because
that's the thing.
They change every season. Every season there's something new, you know, as you pass by the house, right? You pass by their home. And I'm like, oh my goodness. Well,
yes, it's supposed to be every day.
I'm 70.
No, she did.
But you know what? When I mentioned to her about ERA, she said, now what? And I said, okay.
That's right.
Former First Lady of Georgia.
That's right.
And she said, well, you know, I've been out, you know, I haven't really been into politics.
There were a lot of women, white women that were not involved in that movement because it was forbidden. It was forbidden.
She said, but no, she said, no, of course, I recognize it. She said, I recognize. She said, but you know, I haven't been in there in a while, okay? Wow. I said, no, that's fine. I understand. And that's the reason, like I said, you need to have these conversations from people. As I spoke to Janet Mathis, She said, I worked on that when I was in school.
Yeah.
And somebody else said, one of the lawyers there from the Gawa at the gala. I walked in with her and she said, oh, yes, I worked on that. Emma daughter told me that she did a paper on it when she was in school. So I'm saying that's why we have to have a conversation.
Yeah.
Everything right now must be bridged. That's right. That's really where we are.
Yeah. I like that theme.
Well, we're forgetting.
I like that.
We have to. See, because we need to hear.
The bridging.
We have to. Look, that's what she, oh no, wait, it's in the book. And she said she did this in the book. The bridge is key.
Ah.
The bridge is key.
And then I like this, looking back at always organization, always training, always strategy, always discipline. All that has to be part of the bridge. The training, the organization, the strategy, the discipline, those 4 things.
That's
powerful.
And because I think that's what people miss from trying to do it the New Jack way.
New Jack way.
The New Jack way.
Because of getting it done, right? We need to get it done. And we don't need to do like the, old folks, because they think that if it's, and I'm speaking to folks just, maybe 10 years younger than me, okay? And they calling it the old the old way. Right. And I'm saying, okay, but do you understand when you understand what went into the Kenyan way of the training, the planning, they met and they said, we're going to do this. Get back to how that bus boycott happened and how for 380, how many days?
Yeah.
380, how many days? Do y'all realize that was over a year?
Right.
Yeah.
And we can't even boycott for a weekend.
That's right.
But coordinated.
Yeah.
Coordinated getting people to work every day.
Every day.
And people were committed to what? Getting to work.
That's right.
Every day.
Even walking.
Yes. Walking. How long? How far? Didn't matter.
No.
But it was getting, so how?
Inferior shoe.
How do we, and it still occurs, of course, because look at the women that showed up in DC last week. Look at the people that showed up at the rally, whatever day, whenever, like I said, it's the social media now that drives.
That's it.
But everybody was a part of it. I like to talk about, when I speak with young people, to share that it was the young people that carried the messages of the mass meetings. Go tell this so-and-so, go tell them, and y'all go tell them.
Well, because the black community
was the black
community. And solid, you knew your neighbors from block to block.
Right.
And under the community action umbrella, you had block captains.
And that's
so all
what
this was in the 60s.
That's what every year we try and bring that back to remind people that yes, get your block or road, whatever corner you have.
That's right.
Right, you brighten that corner where you are by being engaged in that and activating them. So it is pulling from what worked, and that worked.
What worked?
That worked. And so I don't even think they looked at what was working to find out what worked.
Right. And that's what this is all about.
That is what this is all about.
What worked?
Look at that. Okay, so that's a bridge.
That's a powerful bridge.
We could even, I'm thinking, even to begin, have bridge pictures like this. This is a real bridge because I understand Kwanzaa's father was pivotal in something as well, right? Ms. Dorsey?
Kwanzaa Hall.
what was it?
Well, that's CLC. What was he?
Minister or
Kwanzaa Hall's
Yeah.
father, right? Because
What was he with that
he's a
CLC?
legacy bearer.
Well, he had to be a minister, I would think.
Okay.
I'm
see,
thinking
that's-
all of the ministers I did not know.
Okay, okay. Because see, this is, again, as we were saying, that's a bridge.
Right, and remember now, you've got Joseph Lowery and Jesse Jackson and a few others who were not Atlantans.
Right.
They came here with the king after the Selma.
Right.
That's that, and they
became
joined the
Well, and that's
Appalachians.
what you have here, because she's not from here.
What, you know, you also have a
Yeah, she's
picture.
from Philadelphia.
And neither was Durham.
Exactly.
But see, they came in, being
you
recruited as pastors into that environment and assimilated. And I mean, it was just on. You had intelligent ministers who had not only, gone to church, but they went to seminary. And they brought an eclectic view to what the ministry was.
So here is Janice Mathis, that's Greg Street, that's T.I., that is, what's her name, who is on...
She was on House of Pain.
House of Pain.
Get me to start learning.
These are your pictures.
Yeah, no, I understand that.
I can't think of her name either. Kim, is it?
No,
And see, our research has to be...
I know, right?
That we look at these spaces.
Right.
And based on all of their assimilation with any level coming into
Okay.
what did they do? And what was the key impression that they have left on us since they got involved?
Well, it's almost like saying I did a piece with Ambassador Young,
Yes.
and I talked about the monument on the grave.
Right.
We got the 2 dates.
Right.
And I asked him what did he want to be remembered on, and he said, I don't give a damn.
Okay. Well, I can hear you saying that now. You hear? Because after a while, it doesn't matter as long as you change somebody.
Okay.
Because all of what you're doing now is going to change. That is, new people are going to come in.
That's right.
Grow,
Still.
and change comes with that.
And
for
Sure.
better.
Zernona Clayton and Kathleen Steele.
And she is a walking encyclopedia.
Now I do have,
Yeah.
I have a picture of Miss Clayton, Dick Gregory, Ralph at Selma at the bridge.
See?
Ah, nice.
So it's almost like saying
And still, they marched.
yes.
And still.
Though aged, they marched.
Right.
You know.
Right. Yeah. Oh my goodness. Here's
So that's just to
I
give you.
saw that one. Yeah. He's got some great pictures.
Oh my
Great
goodness.
pictures. So we gotta use these pictures as the bridge.
Yeah.
That's the bridge. That's what we're gonna call it. The bridge.
It has to be.
Like I said, the bridge that includes organization, training, strategy, discipline, because that's what we had in the past.
Now, this can be all choice to pick and choose. You have plenty to go through. That's not
You
it.
fixing coffee?
Yeah. For those of you, I'm giving you this cup.
I get to have the cup? Okay.
And it will be rinsed if you want coffee.
Wow.
No, I'm a tea drinker. Actually, I left tea in the car.
And I have, you know what? And I have my pouch
Tea bag
for,
in the car.
I leave the whole.
What did I have? No, apple cider. I said I wanted to do
Apple cider vinegar every day.
Not like I should, but I'm about getting to that. There is Ingrid Saunders Jones and Bernice King.
Yeah.
She taking it with her.
I know.
Okay.
That we are.
How long have you had it?
I know, right? How much I say? What is this one? What is this one for?
You know what? I can't do that while I'm sitting here right now.
This must be a cascade. This is Dr. Lara's picture up here. That's what it is, right? Yeah. That has to be a cascade. Or the other one, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. The church, yes. Ms. Laurie. With Don Lemon.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So next steps, we gotta figure out what the next steps are.
Okay. So
let's see, well, you've gone through them and you're probably already thinking of things. What do
people who are who span the bridge? Okay, so who can talk about it? Who can talk about the bridge?
So,
and you said you already have some interviews because some will be hard to get.
Yes, I did.
So you just
yeah, just look at the events. You might be able to pull them to the side.
Yeah.
And talk about things like that.
Look at that, Alipad. Have mercy.
Alipad.
Wow.
What Roger was.
I got around a little bit.
You sure did.
Okay. Bell, that's one. Andrew Young and Willie Bolden. That was. That's. Okay, so what church is this? Is this Ebenezer on King Holiday?
Yeah, that was the night. That was the night of Obama's election.
No kidding.
At Ebenezer.
I'm
they had a party at church.
Right.
Actually, I think I was there that night. I covered this. I covered it.
Wow.
They were there. That's it. That was the picture.
Yeah, that was my assignment that
night. That was your assignment, to be there.
During election night.
Okay.
That was part of the press corps.
Okay.
Then you got Troy Davis. I am Troy Davis. Donna, I can't thank you enough.
Oh, you're welcome. I really feel I haven't done anything yet. So
yes, you have. You've absorbed a lot of information that some people don't
and your
know.
feedback.
This is definitely
so that we understand. Okay, what it is that you will need. So right now, okay, is the
that's what I want.
The
next
we need the voices. So
right.
if we have so we have the pictures.
Right.
Now it's the voices. Okay, we've decided on the regarding the bridge.
Right.
Okay. And
you're looking at those four steps.
Yes, I'm
steps, the organization.
I mean, I'm recording this.
Of the path that we want to pass along on that bridge.
Rare.
To the young people today.
That is
very rare.
Ooh. Okay, that chills on that one. Because
what does that do?
That's what she just said. We're really doing this to bridge where they're going.
Right. That's it. That's exactly. That's it.
Inspire where they're going.
Where they're headed.
Right.
And showing where we've come.
Right. Showing where we've come.
Until they can see the progression, they can't see the possibility.
And the things that I thought Ms. Dorsey really focused on, and that was how the organization, the training, the strategy, the discipline was so crucial then, not just showing up and being there. So that's the bridge. So those four elements have to be on the bridge. So it's determining who we talk with.
Because even, I don't even think they activate, marshals like they did before.
They probably don't. Like I said, I think they just say, so at this time, we're going to be so-and-so, show up. And we as the media would show up too, you know, hear about it the same way everybody else did.
Now, I hear that.
But it's true.
Who was that? I asked one of our black media, and I said, "Oh, so did you cover so and so, so and so? Did you have somebody go so and so, so?" I don't know nothing about it.
That's it.
I don't know nothing about it. I told them, you know, you have to send it to the black press. Where's your black press? Is something that we did do at People's Agenda, and it has been years since that. was Monica Hoffman came in and gave insight on that, on how, news cycle, what you need, what you need to know in order to, how do you say, to fight for the place.
Right.
Because that's really what it is, to get an understanding, right, of what that's like, that at your production
meetings. The daily production meetings.
Daily one, to have it on the day book, what does that take?
On the mainstream press, but the black press is a whole different thing.
See, we actually really need that.
And so you weren't at the beginning of the ABL event, Super Tuesday, because they had Alexis Scott and Janice Ware and
I saw that they were
Champion.
It was more grassroots.
Champion is oh my goodness, where is my
Did Crossroads go out of business?
No, Jennifer.
The Champion newspaper is
Did who go out?
Crossroads. Somebody said Crossroads gone out of business.
I just saw something.
I don't know. I'm just asking that question.
It may have, but may not have been announced. I mean, in terms of funds and the ability to produce.
All right.
You see things just kind of going.
Carolyn Glenn.
Carolyn Glenn. Okay, the Glens.
But I've heard that too.
So the three of them were interviewed. They had them on the stage, and they each sat in nice chairs, and they talked about the role of the black press. But all of them are online now.
Yeah.
It's a whole different thing. Daily World is completely online.
Atlanta Inquirer is not.
Right.
But
Atlanta
Janice is
Inquirer.
keeping it going some kind of way.
No, that's the Voice.
Oh, that's the Voice.
The Voice is doing both.
Right.
Champion is said. I think she said she's doing both.
Okay.
But the Daily World is now with the Inquirer. They were sold to the same group that has the Inquirer and some of the other. Yeah, she said they sold to a media group like 2 years ago, didn't she?
What's his name? Hiram.
Yeah, she sold to a media group, so they no longer own it. And I wonder about their archives. When they sold, did they sell their archives?
It might be in the Auburn Library.
Right.
What about what's the other Atlanta magazine with the female editor? She sold it too to that group. So he had bought up all of it.
So at the Atlanta.
Yeah.
So the Atlanta Voice, the Atlanta Inquirer, what else?
It's Black magazine. It was Atlanta magazine.
Atlanta. Magazine.
Yeah, the magazine.
I saw her.
It was a female.
Something.
It was a female who was the editor. But she sold it to them also.
But she still.
Yeah, she still.
Okay. I don't.
Yeah, because
I don't know, because she published something.
So Alexis Scott said she was involved for the first year or so, and then it changed so dramatically that she pulled out. So she's not involved at all.
Yeah.
Wow.
That was the transition. But
but after the fire and everything, I think they had to make some tough choices.
And that's what happens. Mm-hmm. That's what happens. But so, what did they say to salvaging black media?
They didn't. That was not a question that was asked. That was a lot of the questions was about the history. Because they went into the Hall of Fame, all three of them. They took into the Hall.
That's right.
So
a
lot of the questions were about the past, not about the future.
Well, it's almost like saying the LP says, we tell our story.
So, but those three would be good to interview.
I had no problem with them because I know them all.
So that was one that I posted. I did see her.
Yeah, I tweeted about them because they're, journalists who paved the way.
It was her and Stan. Stan was there.
Stan was there, and Janice recognized that Stan was still, was still doing stuff.
So the picture that I actually posted was with Alexis, Stan, and somebody else. They were outside. I caught them outside. I just said I did a picture and posted it that it was happening.
That was a nice picture that I took. So I know his pictures are good because I was way in the back. But I wanted to, pay homage to these journalists.
Yes, most definitely.
Yeah, but a lot of what they would be good to have because they, especially Alexis and especially Alexis in particular.
So what you mentioned brought me to this about the archives. How awesome would it be to have a headline as we talk about different things that occurred, pull a headline from the different
time frame
applications.
That's a good idea.
In between the pictures.
Yep, that would be good.
So to ask them.
So we could do some graphics that kind of pull it all together.
Yeah.
Well, I guess the other question would be, who's telling our story today? All right. Are you familiar with a person by the name of Bill Trailer?
No.
I will send you the information. Bill Trailer was a slave who went through emancipation, plantation, lived on the plantation. He has 155 pieces of his work in the Smithsonian.
Really?
Own none of them. He owns none of them. All right? It was a white guy found him, took him in, liked what he did. I'll send you that all the information because I was up there with who's out there, Gilbert Young, last weekend. They honored the family. They have the copyrights for all the pictures, but the Smithsonian has taken his collection.
No kidding.
155 pieces. And somebody else is telling the story. He's been dead for 60 years.
Always. Yeah, we got to tell our own
Always.
stories. So Alexis is in these pictures, so we definitely want to get her. And then, so we're talking the icons, but we're also talking some of the young people.
Yes.
And,
and like, the others.
Yeah, some of the corporate people like Ingrid Saunders. Some people, I mean, you can't just...
Well, because you know what that does? That bridges the other part.
Yeah.
The other part of movement is who funds it. Who's there? Who was there, Dr. Dorsey, to and here we go back to the planning, the strategy, right? Because who all was going to jail? Because everybody can't get in the line now. You can't.
No, you have to have a good reputation.
Everybody, look, if there is any chance that you got even a parking ticket,
that's right.
You need to be in the fifth line, not the first three, okay? So that the first 2-3 lines, they're the ones that can go to jail.
That's right.
Can go to jail.
And that was a construct.
Okay.
In other words, they're going to beat that first number and drag them on down.
Right. And then there are those who were not in line at all, but they were standing and there at the line to get them out.
Wow. That's right.
And you see, those we have to, while we, some of them were, but then there were so many that did not give name, and others knew who others knew, right? But that has to be accounted for. That the place, the space that everyone played, the children in passing the word on, handing the leaflets that were made out. And just like they're doing now with the social media, it is still the same, but it's different in that what we did was pick up something, instead of picking it up to, we're now or. It's not and.
You got me listening.
It's not and. Because nobody really wants to put, paper. No paper.
Well, any good project is going to require research.
No paper. Oh, no. Just send it to me. Just send it to me.
Also, I wanted to add in that what I'm thinking about it. The King statue at the Capitol. I have the only video of that statue being installed.
Nobody showed up except maybe some media, right?
Yeah, because 2 weeks before that, Charlottesville, they killed him when they were trying to take down the statue.
Wow.
Yeah, so I have that. And then I have the unveiling of the statue with the who's who there also.
So, but that's an episode. Those 3 statues and bridges and things like that, that becomes another story that talks about either the changing of the era or the changing of the guard.
Okay.
That's it.
Wow.
That's it.
So then you also know I have the 50th anniversary of the March on Washington. I have the 50th anniversary of Selma, and I have the 50th anniversary of the Voters' Rights. That's the ones I gave with Sonny Walker.
Yeah, and you know, a lot of that has gone into somebody's archives.
All right. You got Sonny Walker.
What did you mention? You said Alexis, and no, that, okay, so media.
And that's an important.
Corporate. That's the other thing, because that is where, as Dr. Dorsey was speaking to, with the churches and the jobs, we do know that the individuals that were working in those corporate entities, like Dossman and Davis, gave way to bringing people in.
And then there were some of the white groups, like, didn't Aaron's help fund Selma? What do I remember? Something with,
the later on.
Who was behind the scenes that funded the Selma March? It was a white corporation that just came out that Andrew Young just revealed.
He did reveal
a lot of money.
See, again, that was made widespread, published.
Right. There was you know, that took care of the food, that took care of making sure the buses went through. So it was somebody white
so we
who was major.
It was Jewish and white.
Right, and who kept themselves. Nobody knew about them. They didn't want to be known. They just put their money out there.
Yeah, that's an extremely important point.
I thought it was Aaron Rents. Somebody would. I don't know why. I don't know why that. They
It
did
could have
something.
been stores like Habity and others that did it, but it was secretly done. You didn't want them to lose their pay.
They didn't.
That's why it's important, again, to show how everybody played a part in some way, shape, or form. And even now, you can play a part.
On the other side of the bridge, right. So the bridge. I just like that image.
Isn't it just,
I think that's
and we've got to build a bridge between them.
So that's what we want to do.
These are new civil rights movements. Even what's going on in Washington right now is about civil rights.
I did the Black and African American, the Black coming down in American and African, and then hyphen American.
Yeah, it's like a cross.
The experience, do we call it an experience then and now, and to come or to be?
Okay, you don't see this?
Andrew Young, what's that?
Oh, is this what you got?
Yesterday.
Yesterday?
His birthday.
They actually all look really good.
Yeah.
That is a
Considering he's the oldest.
Yeah.
At 97.
That is really good.
The CT is 87, I think.
And I got a video on each one except Dr. Lowery. It was probably one.
We got enough of him, I'm not sure.
Yeah.
So cool one for Dr. Lowery.
Because we're not going to be able to get them again, but so it's just a matter of listening to what they have to say and matching up pictures to go with what they have to say.
Okay. Also, in the conversation yesterday, I made sure I got this question. Dr. Vivian and Congressman Lewis was hit. So what are you saying in terms of nonviolence, the Kingian theory? What are you saying to the youth?
It doesn't matter. You're great or small. You got to risk your life and your reputation and stand up for what you believe and help some people get out of the hole.
That's the experience.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter with me.
So their answers were good?
Yes.
Yeah. That's
I need your email address.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, you can text me the email address.
Yeah,
and
yeah,
we,
send me that. And I can start
We'll go.
listening to some of this stuff and matching that up with pictures.
right.
Yeah, and then I can see your catalog of pictures,
I think that's a good place to start.
you know.
Well, I just think we are on to something.
But it's almost like
There
saying,
needs to be an opportunity to come back together to discuss ideas.
Some more.
Okay.
And then
Let's do
synergize
that.
them on a point by point or step by step.
Sure.
basis.
This is a good start.
Okay.
God is good.
Yeah.
And either a couple of weeks or next month, or well, in a couple of weeks, we'll be next month. After the election.
No, we're into October and it's hot like it's July, isn't it?
Yeah.
Well,
I think
when is it
that,
gonna cool down?
2 weeks into the Supreme Court outcome,
Okay.
we need to look at what's happening on Capitol Hill. What is going to be the energy over there?
All
Because
right.
it is hot today.
Now,
And everybody's talking about the midterm elections and what we're gonna do about that. And,
tell me what you want me to cover, because you know I'm in Virginia and I go to DC. I know I'll be there on the 9th through the 11th with National Council of Negro Women. With
look at
Ms.
the
Matthews,
energy
but I look at
that's
the
out
candidate.
there. And look at the paper and see what kind of attitudes are being discussed and plans. What is Congress going to do now?
They raised $2 million.
Now that they show their ugly hands.
To run somebody against Susan Collins.
And
So,
Susan Rice is looking to
Right.
so
would that be awesome?
Well, and we have to make sure she has good bodyguards.
no.
Yeah,
She
that's
knows
true.
a lot more than most people would ever know.
For who she is, yeah.
Yeah, so you're gonna run for Congress like that, you don't want your car to go over a bridge.
I have to send you the comments
Like
that,
the judge.
This is how
She
things
just
happen.
gave me
Did
goosebumps.
they rule her death suicide?
Who?
The judge, the black judge.
But we
Remember?
really never knew.
Okay.
It
Okay,
just
still.
quit. The media quit on that.
On that.
What is
Because
it?
she disappeared for what was it, 3 weeks? Or
Right.
something like that.
Who are we talking
Up in,
Was it Maryland? Or
yeah, it was Maryland.
Maryland?
So
They
the
said
judge
the cars
was
just went
missing.
over the bridge, right? Oh, it just went
Wow.
over there. Yeah.
well, I guess we're going to, I know you got to go. I know you got to get ready to go somewhere.
Yeah, I just,
She had to.
We can do
just
that.
got, why he can't buy it by himself?
No, you know it's got to be the kind you need.
Because you bring it home, and that ain't what I
He
want.
actually does the washing.
That's all right.
He's gonna continue to do the washing, so he should buy it.
That's right. We want to make sure that it integrates into the environment.
I have a meeting. I said, I have a meeting, and he said, oh, you do?
So when
I thought we were gonna get him. And I told him, I said, I will be in touch
make
with
those kind of decisions.
I told him I'd be in touch, and I said, the noon hour, so
Yeah,
we're.
back in the day, there weren't many choices. I mean, a washing machine
Oh,
was
my
a washing machine.
Yeah, just function.
You either got the kind that rolled everything dry or automatically.
I know, right?
You know, spin it up. You know.
I'm going to cut this off. I want to show you
Okay,
my
so do we want to set a date for the next time?
I'm in, and if you want to meet here, if you want to meet at Chantilly, whatever you want to do, let me know. We have the LIHEAP season coming up in November, but we still have meeting area where in an office or just coming.
Oh, that's right, you do. don't you?
Everything
Yes,
starts
that's right,
popping in November, from November to the end of May, where we are serving large crowds of people who need energy assistance. The government usually gives this money in the winter months, but we're finding that due to extreme heat.
Oh, that's what I have.
Because right now is usually the time where we're not using heat or air, and yet we can't, because we're still using air.
That's right.
Yeah, right now is usually a money-saving few months, but
Not
not this year, not at 90 degrees, not when it's 90 degrees out in the 80s.
I'd love to save some.
I had to get it last night and try like, what is this on?
Yeah.
Even though it was on
Well, pardon me, Clyde, I had to make sure I wasn't having a hot flash.
It's like at least 10, maybe 15, 20 degrees above where it should be right now. And so you are gonna need energy assistance.
Yeah.
People are gonna need it.
Okay.
That's it.
They were talking about the leaves are not changing.
That's
North Georgia.
Isn't that something? So we're not gonna get that look that we're,
Yeah, you don't see the browning, that's true.
some of the trees, some of the leaves are falling, but they're not browning. They're just tired. They're tired.
And it's so funny because I had actually noticed it when I was traveling, right? And
But you didn't see any change of colors.
And then
At least yellow.
to hear it then on the news, like, okay, well, this ain't crazy. Okay, I'm paying attention. So
Trees
you
might
said
be
we
getting
need,
confused.
okay, so you want to do it after the election? That would be what, a full 3
Well,
weeks?
right up on it, whatever is really good, because the election is a month away from tomorrow.
November 3rd.
Mhm.
Six.
Six, yeah.
6. Well,
Let's see.
not
You know what I was gonna ask, when's the next holiday?
Don't get out, I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
sorry, we don't.
Gotta wait till Thanksgiving.
Thanksgiving.
There's
is
no
the next
federal
one.
holiday coming up between now.
We're finished with the Monday, we're finished with the Mondays right
Yeah.
now, right? What, until
Yeah,
February?
and you know, as I
Until
hear
February.
There's Veterans Day.
is that in November?
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
Yeah, so
that's the week after.
it's usually the 11th, right, it's the week
Right.
after. The 12th is the date they're gonna celebrate it
Right on.
this year. And I don't know how many people get Veterans Day. I don't know if they do that, they don't always do that as a Monday holiday. I don't think they do.
No. You might have a choice based on.
It depends.
Yeah, it's probably a federal holiday, but nothing else.
y'all want to set a date now, or you want to wait?
We can wait, I just sent you my email
Okay.
address.
It
Okay.
says that it is.
Okay, huh?
Veterans Day
Did I
observed
give you
on the
a-
12th.
We can decide, you guys look
Okay.
at it, I'll look through this stuff and start, yeah. I
You got-
have
you got
cards
your
coming, I don't have any cards right now.
Yeah.
I should have cards by Wednesday. I've just been dragging my feet on getting cards.
I am grateful and honored to
Yeah.
be able to sit here and be with you.
You said, yeah.
You're good.
Wait a minute now, we need to ask you about the impact of your retirement. What kind of celebration did you?
Then, you know what, the station celebrated me, and there were 15 of us. Well, you know,
It
it's
was a
corporate.
mass,
It was a corporate thing, so there was a buyout.
Right.
And 25 of us who were over a certain age and had a number of years in were all offered it, and 15 of us took it. And the ones who didn't are sorry they didn't. Because they're still there, and the environment is changed tremendously. And if you look now, it's a lot of really young people. Really,
and they're reading
I look
script.
at
I mean, you might have had script, but you didn't have to. I think of Monica Kaufman, who went off script quite a bit.
Yeah.
It's like, she got admonished, and she said, so what, I was telling the truth.
That's it. So so what you have are a lot of young people who don't have the depth. So when things happen,
True.
they don't know who the people are.
You hear the more than
things.
you ever. I bet you weren't permitted to say
No, we were.
You know that.
So they don't know the history in the area. They don't know the importance of certain people. So there's So I left after 30 years. I was 30 years at one job, one television station.
And see, that's rare.
Yeah. And then right after I left, Lisa Rain left Fox 5, and Monica had left about a year before, and we lost.
And Steen had been shut out.
Steen.
I mean, I'm not sure exactly how that happened, but
now
politics.
Steve's gone. Yeah. Of those 15 of us who retired, 2 people have passed away. So,
Passed. One that just passed.
Steen.
No, I know Steen. She at the airport. She got to take at the airport.
Amanda
Davis.
Yeah.
All right.
And of course, when Jackie Maddox passed,
that was so sad. I was here when Jackie Maddox.
She was living under the pressure of being in the shadows.
Right. There was another guy who passed away too just recently, who was on And you know what? I don't know where my brain is today because I can't think of his name. I can see his face.
Monday.
But he was an anchor at Fox 5. Along with Lisa Ram. Not Ray Montoya, but I can see his face.
I know.
But yeah, so what you've seen is a lot of us who've been around that we're all gone, and there's there's a whole new crop of people who don't have the background. So Keith Whitney, for instance, is working for the city right now. So he left. He is the director of communications for the mayor. So a lot of us have moved on, and so you don't have the depth. There are a few things that have happened where I've watched TV and said, you know who they need to contact, so and so. But if I were in a newsroom, I'd be able to say that. Right. Excuse me, but the young people don't know that. Wow. They don't know the depth. Some of these issues even happening at the national level with Kavanaugh. Right. There are people here who should have been interviewed, who could have talked about some things. Yeah.
So in essence, we are being completely brainwashed.
Pardon me?
We're being brainwashed through the media.
Well, that's almost like amnesia. We're not looking at things up front, and we're losing.
It's from their perspective.
Our memory.
Right, a lot of them. So these are the young people. They're the millennials who are the focusing more on what their social media is about and those kind of things.
Tweet me at.
Excuse me. They're doing more of that. They're doing more of Facebook Live and things like that. Not that that's not important, but they don't have depth. They don't have depth.
Yeah.
Okay.
I shared that with someone. I said, have you recognized that 15 minutes of a newscast is focused on social media?
Yeah, right.
That's right.
So they start telling you what people are. This is what's trending. This is what the main thing is. That's what they're telling you.
So this is what we call fake news.
Yeah.
And then you get an opportunity to email them, to tweet them, and it may show up on the screen.
Yeah, that reduces costs because we get a lot of
they'll choose what to put on the screen.
Yeah, there's whole shows that are just based on what people are watching, what doing in social media. Like that's the whole half-hour show. It's all about that.
What is that? That's the one, the right this minute, the video?
Yeah. Oh my God. Yes, that's all about videos and what's on social media. Yeah. That's kind of
unbelievable, but that's where we are.
Do you have an extra one of these?
Then take that.
Thank you.
Get one of those?
Yeah, no, I
see, but you need to understand that.
This has a lot of
another document about EOA. Which is the organization that we succeeded, as you know now.
Yeah.
Well, that's why I need.
I don't have copies, but I'm going to make some. Okay. I just got this the other day, and if you just flip these pages, you see what.
We need Alice Bonner in here now.
And that's where this.
We need Alice Bonner.
And this is where this came from.
Huh?
This is where this came from.
Alice Bonner.
Alice told, in her...
Don't go back out there.
In her own language, tell Joyce, give me mine back. Give me mine back. Yeah. So that's...
Lord have mercy.
That would be, yeah. But we have programs.
Look at that. Yes.
But they had programs all night.
Yes.
Things like home-based programs where you taught how to... people homemaking skills.
Right.
And this is why Carver Homes was so strong.
Right.
Harry Homes was so strong.
What happened?
Egan Homes was so strong.
Well, first of all, they're gone.
Bankhead Courts was so strong. And all the rest of them were so strong because of this program. And this program, the poor were concentrated mostly in those kind of communities. But because that was so intact, those communities were so intact, they had community presidents who made sure that everybody in the whole complex knew about these programs.
They had strong community presidents.
Yeah, in fact, that was one of the reasons they were disbanded.
Yeah,
we don't hear that part. It was like they were coming down to city halls and raising all kind of sands, and they were the ones that were getting out the vote.
That's right. That's true.
And you voted if you lived in public housing, otherwise you began to be ostracized. You ain't got nothing to say because you wasn't even there.
And that's
you didn't even vote. Your children didn't vote.
That's right.
And everybody in their household voted back in those days.
In the day.
Yeah.
In the day.
So it was becoming too powerful and too influential. And the city council and folk like that, the county commission, lobbied with public housing to get elected.
And they and there was only so much gerrymandering you can do inside.
A city.
Inside the
Right.
city.
Right.
The county lines, sure,
Right.
but you really couldn't.
Yeah.
So you had to do it
That's right.
another way.
And now Fulton County has about 16, 17 cities. Back then it had maybe 3 or 4.
Right, there's no more unincorporated, except for that one little strip that they're fighting over.
Yeah.
Right there, Fulton
you know.
But it's Fulton Industrial, but nobody lives there, it's all industrial.
Like Boat Rock, even though it was on the outskirts.
Yes.
Was one of the strongest communities.
Yes.
Because they did not have, they had far to go.
Yeah.
All right, ladies, I know I ain't trying to keep y'all all day. I ain't trying to wear out my welcome, but it's 12:46. Yeah, we can go. We can go.
Thank you, this was wonderful, I feel honored to be a part of it.
Well, listen, I feel like I was a celebrity up in here. Hey, take a picture of us girls on one shot.
Multimedia aspect.
I need to start doing that.
I stood up and
Pictures
watched
of who
C-SPAN.
sat in my office.
You are so That's right.
I got the pictures.
Hey, but you gotta do it right here.
Okay, you want? Okay.
Yeah, you might not send it.
Well, you say you got a celebrity in your office.
Yeah.
All right. Go ahead, Sharon. Get yourself together.
Outgoing women who got a lot to say.
You are hilarious.